Chapter 280? Twin Lakes Island. Council Hall. After the clan meeting was held, Qin Daoxian left behind Qin Daolian, Qin Daochu and Qin Fuxing. There are a total of 6,357 bottles of Vitality Essence. According to an average of 13 bottles of Vitality Essence, a cultivator in the early stage of foundation establishment can be promoted to the Zifu period, and more than 480 cultivators of foundation establishment can be promoted to the Zifu period. Saying that, he looked at Qin Daolian. Can my Qin family find 480 foundation-building monks who are worthy of cultivation? Hearing this, Qin Daolian's heart was beating like thunder, and she pursed her dry lips and said, "Chief Master, now there are 967 cultivators in my Qin family at the foundation stage. There should be no problem in identifying 480 potential foundation-building cultivators." Qin Fuxing on the side only felt that he was dizzy now. 480 Zifu monks. Even if it was just 480 cultivators of the most ordinary Zifu, looking at Zhangzhou, it was a terrifying force that crushed everything. The Yi family and the Zhou family were all scum in front of the 480 Zifu cultivators. Even if the ordinary Zifu cultivator is weaker, wearing spirit armor and setting up a formation, dozens of Qinjiao Zifu who are fighting against the Zifu Qinjiao list will still have no problem. In this way, the Qin family has added a dozen or so arrogant level Zifu monks out of thin air. Not to mention that among the group of Zifu monks born in the Qin family, there were already a group of extremely talented foundation-building swordsmen. Their strength will soon surpass that of ordinary late-stage Zifu cultivators, and be between ordinary late-stage Zifu cultivators and Qinjiao Zifu cultivators. For example, the current Qin Fuxing is probably at this level of strength. A Zifu cultivator of this strength can match a Zifu Tianjiao with only a few digits. And this level of monks, the Qin family has at least 8 because in addition to Qin Daoxian, the Qin family also has 8 foundation-building swordsmen. These are the family background accumulated by Qin Daoxian when he preached at the beginning. Hearing that the family's foundation-building cultivators now number nearly 1,000, Qin Daoxian nodded in satisfaction. Immediately he sighed. Unfortunately, although the essence of vitality can quickly promote the foundation-building cultivator to the Zifu stage, it cannot help these cultivators to understand the Tao. Even if they break through the Zifu, they are destined to be the weakest. Seeing that Qin Daoxian was still dissatisfied, Qin Daolian hurriedly said, "Young patriarch, these purple monks who are about to be born in my Qin family are weak, but they are young. Even the eldest one is no more than 30 years old. Even if the current strength is weak, the life essence of more than 400 years is enough for each of them to reach the level of Tianjiao Zifu." Hearing this, Qin Daoxian was immediately dissatisfied. With such a big advantage, you only want them to be listed on the Zifu Tianjiao list? You should think that this group of Zifu cultivators can survive the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation in the future and become the true monarch of nascent soul. After speaking, he reached out and tapped Qin Daolian's head lightly. Hearing these words, Qin Daolian couldn't help but stunned. With such a large lifespan advantage for the rest of the time, the cultivator of the Qin family's Purple House only needs to understand the law of the Great Tao with peace of mind, and he does not need to spend too much time improving his cultivation. For more than 400 years, even if these Zifu cultivators fished for 3 days and spent 2 days drying the net, they would be able to improve their cultivation from the early days of Zifu to the great perfection of Zifu. In the past 400 years, they have used it more to comprehend the laws of the Tao. Moreover, the cultivators of the Qin family understood the avenue, and they were also assisted by Qin Daoxuan's preaching. Even though Qin Daoxuan's preaching time is not fixed, but for more than 400 years, Qin Daoxian has preached for them thousands of times, 10,000 times. In this way, even if the talents of this group of Zifu monks are poor, they will definitely reach the third realm of the Great Tao in the future. Besides, the foundation-building cultivators of the Qin family are not that bad. Qin Daoxian shook his head. The only pity is that the strength of the more than 480 Zifu cultivators who were born out of the essence of vitality is still a bit weak. Who knows? Qin Daochu on the side interjected mysteriously. Not necessarily. Oh. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian smiled and turned to look at Qin Daochu. When the Kai clan was meeting, I saw that you couldn't wait to speak. Did your Magic Weapon Research Institute invent any new magic weapon? Seeing Qin Daoxuan's expectant eyes, Qin Daochu smiled and said, "It's not a new type of magic weapon, but a breakthrough in spirit armor technology." Spirit armor? Third order spirit armor? Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Daochu excitedly. The biggest reason why he asked Qin Daoxian to set up the Magical Instrument Research Institute at the beginning was to let them create a third order spirit armor refining method on the basis of the second order spirit armor. Because of the refining method of the third-order spirit armor, it was firmly blocked by the top families of Qinyuan Jianzong and Wanxinghai. You know, even Qin Daoxian doesn't have a third-order spirit armor by his side. Of course, there is also the factor that he did not exchange his military exploits. Because it is not cost-effective to exchange battle merits for Tier 3 spirit armor, and there are various hard restrictions. It can be said that Qinyuan Jianzong's blockade of spirit armor is much stricter than the blockade of martial arts. Similarly, there are large-scale war instruments. This time, the reason why the human cultivators were not defeated by the demons in the true immortal origin realm was that there were very few cultivators wearing Tier 3 spirit armor among this batch of cultivators in the Purple Mansion of Wanxinghai. Only the core disciples of Jiang and Ji wear Tier 3 spirit armor. As for the more numerous monks from the vassal families of Jiang and Ji, as well as the monks from Cangzhou, few of them could afford the third-order spirit armor. Even Qin Daoxian fought in a white Taoist robe. It's not that Qin Daoxian is pretending to be unrestrained, but that he doesn't have a third-order spirit armor, and a second-order high-grade spirit armor can't play much defensive role in the battle of the top Zifu monks. Qin Daoxian simply stopped wearing it. Inside the hall. When Qin Daochu saw Qin Daoxian looking at him excitedly, he couldn't help feeling a little guilty. It's not a third-order spirit armor anyway, you'll find out when you look at it later. Qin Dao hesitated at first. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian looked at the other party with interest and said, "Why didn't you bring out the sample?" Who knows that when Qin Daochu heard this he said with a serious face, "The rule of our Institute of Magical Instruments is that all items of the Institute, whether sample instruments or research jade slips, are not allowed to be taken out. This is an iron law. As the Dean of the Magical Instrument Research Institute, I am no exception." Seeing Qin Daochu's serious face, Qin Daoxian nodded. There are rules, and the leader is willing to abide by the rules, which is a rare thing for any force. Especially for a person like a cultivator who attributes his mighty power to himself. In fact, in any cultivation force, there are cases where monks use their personal strength to break the rules of the force, more or less. If a cultivator of a cultivating force cannot abide by even the most basic rules, no matter how many strong people this force has, it will be nothing but scattered sand. Only the power of cultivation that the strong are willing to abide by the rules can truly twist the power into a rope. Qin Daoxian saw the serious expressions on everyone's faces, and knew that his education to the monks of the Taoist generation and the family's education to the monks of the Blessed generation was very successful. The cultivators of the Qin family did not rely on their cultivation and high status, so they ignored the clan rules and did whatever they wanted within the clan. Qin Daoxian nodded with satisfaction and smiled gently, "Okay, it's better to hit the sun if you choose a day, let's go now." Saying that, he looked at Qin Dalian and Qin Fuxing. "Are you two going to go together?" Qin Fuxing and Qin Dalian looked at each other and cupped their hands together. "I still have to count the foundation-building cultivators who use the essence of vitality. I also have to go to the military to select people." Qin Daoxian waved his hand, "Then you can go." He knows that now the Qin family members can't wait to sharpen their heads and want to win the opportunity to use the essence of vitality. Although the Qin family cultivator will owe a large amount of contributions to the family after using the vitality essence. But if the cultivation base is upgraded to the Purple Palace period, there will be 500 years of life essence to be squandered, and no matter how many family contributions are owed, there will always be a day when it will be repaid. In comparison, the Foundation Establishment cultivator who was not selected was much more uncomfortable. Of course, the Qin family has no shortage of resources. Even if the remaining base-building cultivators are not selected, if they practice step by step, they will still have a great chance of breaking through to the Zifu period in the future. After all, the Qin family suddenly had hundreds of more cultivators in Zifu. After the strength skyrocketed, it would definitely usher in a leap-forward development. And the dividends of development will fall on the head of the Qin family cultivator. This is a virtuous circle. As long as you are not a fool, you can see it. Get out of the hall. Everyone left. Together, Qin Daoxian and Qin Daochu flew straight towards the Magical Instrument Research Institute. The Magical Instrument Research Institute is not far from the Jianghu Island Industrial Zone, and Qin Daoxian and the two arrived quickly. Through the layer-by-layer method. The two finally entered the Magical Instrument Research Institute. Compared with half a year ago, today's Magical Instrument Research Institute has added a lot of buildings. Perhaps influenced by Qin Daoxian, the architectural style of the Qin Family Magical Instrument Research Institute reveals a simple taste in the antique fragrance. Entering the Institute of Magical Instruments, I walked for about a cup of tea. The two stopped in front of a laboratory. That's it. Qin Daochu is familiar with the road. The two entered the laboratory together. As soon as he entered the laboratory, someone recognized Qin Daoxian with a look of reverence and excitement on his face. After all, these blessing characters in the laboratory have grown up from studying at a young age and hearing about Qin Daoxuan's legendary experience. From the bottom of their hearts, they are full of admiration for Qin Daoxian. Along the way, Qin Daoxian kept saying hello to these Qin family research elites. Although he is in the world of immortality, Qin Daoxian has never underestimated the research of magical instruments. He would never forget that the Qin family rose up with a small melting furnace. Although the profit brought by the Rongling stove to the Qin family is no longer so important, the various instruments manufacturing industries that have grown based on the Rongling stove are still one of the economic pillars of the Qin family. Young patriarch, look. Qin Daochu pointed at a cyan spirit armor and said excitedly, "This is the spirit armor I told you." Seeing this pair of spirit armor in front of him, Qin Daoxian did not have any excited expression but frowned. The reason is very simple. This spirit armor is not a third-order spirit armor, but a second-order high-grade spirit armor. It's just that the difference from the top-grade spirit armor in the family inheritance jade slip is that the chest of this spirit armor seems to have a faint lotus-like pattern. It stands to reason that after the magic weapon is melted, there will be no traces on the surface. Spirit armor is also a kind of magic weapon, and naturally it should not have lines. This is... Qin Daoxian looked at the lotus pattern and felt a little familiar. This is the white lotus of good fortune. Qin Daochu said with a smile, "You didn't expect it. I combined the fortune-telling white lotus that stores the true essence and the spirit armor to create this brand new combined magic weapon." Hearing these words, Qin Daoxian was shocked. "You mean use the real energy in the white lotus of good fortune to directly power the spirit armor?" "Right." Qin Daochu said excitedly, "Usually the fortune-telling white lotus used by the cultivators of the Qin family can only replenish the real energy into the Dantian Qi Si, but this time I not only let it replenish the cultivator's real energy, but also let it directly power the spirit armor. From the point of view of people who don't know how to do it, there seems to be no difference between directly powering the spirit armor and providing power through the Dantian." But Qin Daoxian knew that the difference was too great. In scientific terms, it is a power issue. The Dantian of different cultivators can be regarded as the difference in external output power. The mana of the Zifu cultivator is definitely stronger than the real essence of the base-building cultivator. So, is there any way to make the base-building cultivator burst out with true energy comparable to the mana of the Purple Mansion cultivator? Tempering the true essence and letting the true essence reach the limit state is one way. But even in this way it can't surpass the mana of the Zifu cultivator, and can only keep getting closer. Under the same amount, it is impossible to want the true essence of the Foundation Establishment cultivator to be stronger than the mana of the Zifu cultivator, but different amounts of true essence can still be stronger than the mana. As the so-called quality is not enough to make up the quantity, this is the truth. It's just that the quality and quantity of the base-building cultivator's true essence can't compare to the mana of the Zifu cultivator, and it can be said that it has been completely crushed. This is the basic strength. So it can be seen how perverted Qin Daoxian must be to be able to fight beyond the ranks. The Qin family cultivator is different. The Qin family has a special instrument called the White Lotus, which can store the monk's true mana. Therefore, the Qin family cultivator's true essence is far more than that of the Zifu cultivator, let alone the same level. However, although the Qin family cultivator has a lot of real energy, it is impossible to burst them all together. Because of the limitation of Danshan's Qi Si, if you pour all the real energy in the White Lotus into your Dantian, let alone an enemy, your own Dantian will explode in an instant. This is also the reason why the foundation-building cultivator of the Qin family uses magical tools, and the power cannot be increased, but can only last for a long time at most. At this moment, Qin Daochu actually said that he combined the second-order spirit armor with the White Lotus of Good Fortune, so that the White Lotus of Good Fortune directly powered the spirit armor. You must know that the output power of the White Lotus is more than 10 times stronger than that of a monk of the same level. If this directly powers the spirit armor, doesn't it mean that a Zifu cultivator uses the second-order spirit armor to provide defense for the foundation-building cultivator? Although the spirit armor has not changed, the defensive ability will definitely increase significantly due to the change of the object providing power. It is also a second-order spirit armor, and the power in the hands of the base-building cultivator is definitely different from that of the Purple House cultivator. As such, The base building cultivator wearing this second-order power spirit armor is even stronger than wearing ordinary third-order spirit armor. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian kept stroking the pair of spirit armor in front of him, and praised, "How long does your kid have such a brain? I never realized that you are so smart before?" Hey. Qin Daochu smirked. Chapter 281. Go try. Qin Daoxian picked up the pair of spirit armor in front of him and threw it to Qin Daochu. Seeing this, Qin Daochu hurriedly took the spirit armor and followed behind Qin Daoxian. The Qin family's Magical Instrument Research Institute is located near the Jianghu Island Industrial Zone. Due to the many contributions made by the Magical Instrument Research Institute since its establishment, the family has paid more and more attention to this special magic instrument research institution. What follows is that the family is inclined to its various resources, which naturally includes the area of the Institute of Magical Instruments. Qin Daoxian and Qin Daochu came to a test site of the Magical Instrument Research Institute. This is a site specially used to test various new instruments, covering a huge area of 7 or 8 square kilometers. Looking at the empty field in front of him, Qin Daoxian nodded, then turned to look at Qin Daochu and said, "Let's start." Qin Daochu skillfully imprinted his divine sense on the sample spirit armor in his hand, and after simple refining, he put the power spirit armor on his body. Looking at Qin Daochu's fully armed appearance, Qin Daoxian couldn't help but remember that when he first asked him to test the defensive power of the spirit armor, the other party looked like this. In a blink of an eye, so many years have passed. Shaking his head, he put away his thoughts. Qin Daoxian said loudly, "Are you ready?" Qin Daochu nodded nervously, and immediately seemed to think of the defensive power of this pair of spirit armor, so he gathered up his courage and said, "Young patriarch, I'm ready, let's start." Qin Daoxian is no nonsense. He directly took out the flying snow sword, straightened a sword light, and slashed towards the opponent. Feijian drew a white mark in the sky, and then slashed Qin Daochu's spirit armor. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, a ring of white air waves spread out towards the surroundings. A long time. The white air wave slowly disappeared. Fortunately, this was in the air. If it were on the ground, this sword might not have caused much damage. I have to say that as Qin Daoxuan's strength became stronger and stronger, the destructive power caused by his gestures became more and more terrifying. During the qi refining period, even with a high-grade flying sword of the first rank, with the infusion of true qi, the sword glow would be no more than 9 feet at most. With this destructive power, it would be hard to tear down a cargo ship. After being promoted to the Zifu period, even if Qin Daoxian did not use the law of the Great Way to increase his attack power, he could provoke dozens of sword beams of nearly 100 feet with just one strike. Don't look at the mediocre sword he just attacked Qin Daochu. In fact, this is the effect of his deliberately restraining the sword light, otherwise the sword light will be exposed at least several dozen feet. The sword glow of dozens of feet is restrained, and the power of this sword has reached the level of the middle period of Zifu or even close to the late period of Zifu. Not to mention that Qin Daochu was wearing a second-order spirit armor. Even if he was wearing a third-order spirit armor, I am afraid that under this sword, he would have to suffer serious injuries. Of course, Qin Daoxian did not want to take the opportunity to teach Qin Daochu a lesson. But through what he just learned, he knew that the defense power of the second-order power spirit armor in front of him was very terrifying. In truth, the defensive power of the base-building cultivator wearing this spirit armor is probably stronger than that of wearing the third-order spirit armor, and the attacks of ordinary cultivators in the early stage of the Purple Mansion can't help it at all. Qin Daoxian simply broke out the attack in the middle of the Zifu directly to see if it could stand it. Result. The air wave dissipated, and a figure wrapped in cyan spirit armor appeared in front of Qin Daoxian. It seemed that Qin Daochu was safe and sound. Cough, cough, cough. Just thinking about it, Qin Daochu coughed violently. The blue spirit armor faded, and there was a faint trace of blood on the corner of Qin Daochu's mouth. Young patriarch, next time I want test the defensive power of spirit armor with you again. Qin Daochu looked at Qin Daoxian resentfully. Qin Daoxian laughed awkwardly, threw a bottle of healing elixir over and said, "I know it in my heart. If you can't hold it, I will stop it in time." Seeing Qin Daochu's expression of disbelief, Qin Daoxian coughed and stopped explaining. However, this pair of spirit armor is really good. Although it is not a third-order spirit armor, in the hands of a foundation-building cultivator, the defensive power it exerts is stronger than that of the third-order spirit armor. Yes. Qin Daochu took out a spiritual pill from the jade bottle and swallowed it in his mouth, while saying, "Unfortunately limited by the rank, its defense upper limit is still lower than the third-order spirit armor. If the Zifu cultivator was wearing a third-order high-grade spirit armor, I am afraid that the Qinjiao Zifu cultivator would not be able to help him. From this point of view, my power spirit armor is still far behind. Nonsense, if the third-order spirit armor didn't have such a strong effect, Qinyuan Jianzong and other top big families would not have gone to great lengths to block its refining methods. Chen Daoxian said, shaking his head and sighing, it's not just the refining method of high-level spirit armor, in Wangxinghai, even the spirit ores for refining high-level spirit armor are contraband. Compared with offensive instruments such as the flying sword, spirit armor, especially high-level spirit armor, has always been strictly controlled by Qinyuan Jianzong. Because once this thing spreads, the consequences are much more terrifying than the mere offensive magic weapon. The Qin family is about to have nearly 500 cultivators in the Purple Mansion, which sounds terrifying. But this kind of strength would not be in the eyes of the immortal cultivator family with profound background. It is not that the 500 Zifu monks are not strong, but the 500 Zifu monks who do not have high-level spirit armor, their combat power is really limited. If the 500 purple monks of the Qin family were wearing high-level spirit armor, the situation would be completely different. A Zifu cultivator was wearing a third-order high-grade spirit armor, and even the ordinary Qinjiao Zifu could not break the defense. If they form a formation, a maximum of 10 such Zifu cultivators can compete with a real person in the early stage of Jindan. 500 purple houses, that is 50 Jindan real people. Even if the Qin family's Zifu cultivator is in the early period of Zifu, there is still no problem to match a dozen or even 20 Jindan real people. This force, not to mention the Xiuxin family in Sangzhou, is the nascent soul clan like Taizhoujiang family and Jingzhouji family, and they have to look at them. Even for the top nascent soul clan like the Jiang family and Ji family, 500 Zifu cultivators are easy to accumulate, but 500 third-order spirit armors are more difficult to get together. Although these nascent soul families have the inheritance of refining high-level spirit armor, they do not have the spirit or for refining high-level spirit armor. In Wanxinghai, whether it is the materials for refining high-level spirit armor or the materials for refining war instruments, they are all controlled products and are strictly controlled by the Qinyuan sword sect. Although the Yuanying family has some special channels, they can get some, but there are definitely not many. At most, it can only guarantee that the core children of the family can use it. As for the ordinary children of the family, don't even think about it. Ugh. Hearing the methods and materials for refining high-level spirit armor, Qin Daochu was also very discouraged. Qinyuan Jianzong has ruled Wanxinghai for so many years, and it seems that the management is very loose, and almost all the states are handed over to the Xiuxin family. But in fact, Qinyuan Jianzong's control over Wanxinghai is very firm. Don't look at the Jiang family covering the sky with one hand in Taizhou, but Qinyuan Jianzong really wants to destroy the Jiang family, and it doesn't take much effort at all. Why is there such a big gap between the two? In addition to the huge gap between the top-level strengths of the two sides, the gap between the middle-level strengths of the two sides is even greater. The high-level spirit armor was only one of the factors that caused the gap between the middle-level strengths of the two sides. Seeing Qin Daochu's discouraged appearance, Qin Daoxian patted the other party's shoulder and said, "It's not that there is no way at all." Qin Daochu raised his head and looked at him earnestly. Qin Daoxian smiled, tapped the storage bag with his right hand, and saw a white jade bottle appear in his hand. This is... Qin Daochu looked at Qin Daoxian suspiciously. This is the power of creation. Qin Daoxian gently opened the seal of the jade bottle and poured a drop on Qin Daochu's blue spirit armor. Immediately, this drop of liquid creation power was integrated into the cyan spirit armor. Next moment, an extremely strong aura gathered on the blue spirit armor. Qin Daochu stared blankly at the scene in front of him. He has never heard of the liquid power of creation in this world. In his opinion, the power of creation exists in the spirit stone like mist. Once the spiritual energy of the spiritual stone is exhausted, the fog-like power of creation disappears out of thin air. He had never heard of someone who could extract this misty power of creation and store it in a jade bottle as a liquid. In fact, not only Qin Daochu but also Qin Daoxian saw the power of creation in liquid form for the first time. If it wasn't for the explanation given by the head of the Jinhai Palace at that time, he would not have known that this thing was so precious. Don't underestimate the power of good fortune that Qin Daoxian dripped on the blue spirit armor. Just one drop would cost millions of spirit stones. Of course, compared to the consumption of spirit stones, what is really precious is that it takes a nascent soul true monarch, and it takes a year to extract it. although the monk has 3,000 years of life after breaking through to the Yuanying stage. However, the cultivation of the nascent soul is more difficult, comprehending the Tao, improving the cultivation base, sacrificing and refining the magic tools etc., which must not consume a lot of time and energy. How many nascent soul true monarchs would spend time extracting this thing? Generally speaking, only those monks who have no background and are lucky enough to break through to the nascent soul stage will do this kind of hard work. This also led to the high price of the power of creation in the transactions of high-level monks. Qin Daoxian used 2 Dao laws in exchange for these 200 drops of the power of good fortune. Not to mention that he made a lot of money, but he did not lose much. You must know that this is a 200 years of hard work by a nascent soul true monarch, and this is not even counting the cost of 20 billion spirit stones. Half an hour. The aura on the cyan spirit armor slowly converged. Qin Daochu gently stroked the spirit armor in his hand, and his voice trembled slightly. The third order spirit armor. It is the third order spirit armor. Qin Daoxian nodded. It's just a pity that a drop of the power of good fortune can only make it advance from the second order high grade to the third grade low grade, and there is still a gap between the third grade high grade spirit armor. However, there is a low grade third grade white lotus, and its defense should not be weaker than that of a third grade high grade spirit armor. Speaking of this, Qin Daoxian showed a malicious smile on the corner of his mouth. Would you like to try again? Who knows to hear this? Qin Daochu shook his head like a rattle, saying that he would not agree to test the defense of this third-order low-grade spirit armor again. Look at what you're doing, Qin Daoxian said angrily. After pondering for a while, Qin Daoxian immediately expanded his consciousness. Jianghu Island, the military headquarters of the Qin family. Not long after Qin Fuxing returned to the military station, he heard Qin Daoxuan's voice transmission. Okay, I'll go right now. With a reply, Qin Fuxing didn't dare to neglect. He hurriedly explained a few words, and flew towards the test site of the Magic Instrument Research Institute. Less than half a cup of tea. Qin Fuxing's escape stopped in front of Qin Daoxian and the others. Young Patriarch Uncle Daochu. Seeing the two of them, Qin Fuxing hurriedly bowed his hands. When Qin Daochu saw Qin Fuxing, his face was complicated. The junior in front of him has completely surpassed him in cultivation. However, he is not in a hurry. When the family has confirmed all the places for promotion to Zifu, he will definitely be able to obtain a piece of vitality essence by contributing with his seniority. At that time he will be able to catch up. Thinking of this, Qin Daochu smiled and handed over the blue spirit armor in his hand. Fuxing, the young patriarch wants to try the defensive power of this spirit armor. You should put it on. Yes. Qin Fuxing took the blue spirit armor suspiciously. As the consciousness was branded on the cyan spirit armor, Qin Fuxing's face changed suddenly. Tier 3 spirit armor? As he said that, he looked at Qin Daoxian with a shocked expression, and said in a trembling voice, Young Patriarch, has the family really mastered the refining technique of Tier 3 spirit armor? Not yet. This spirit armor was promoted by special means, and it is impossible to manufacture it in large quantities. Hearing this, Qin Fuxing nodded. Because of the surprise Qin Daoxian gave him before, his expectations for the family were infinitely higher, and now I heard that the family did not master the refining method of the third-order spirit armor. Qin Fuxing breathed a sigh of relief. This is normal. Qin Fuxing knew that the development of the Qin family was very fast, but it was hundreds of cultivators from the Purple Mansion, and they mastered the refining method of high-level spirit armor. The speed of the family's strength expansion was too fast. As the commander-in-chief of the military, Qin Fuxing knew very well how terrifying the power of a Zifu cultivator equipped with Tier 3 spirit armor would be. Why are the monks in the immortal world not keen on the way of body refining? The fundamental reason is the birth of the spirit armor, which makes the monks feel that it is better to find a high-level spirit armor if they work hard to cultivate the body. If it weren't for some broken mirrors, who had minimum requirements for the cultivation of the body, I am afraid that there would be no one in the world of immortals to study the way of body cultivation. After adjusting his mood, Qin Fuxing stood in the air wearing a third-order spirit armor. Looking at Qin Fuxing several miles away, Qin Daoxian raised his hand slightly, and the flying sword cut through the sky. Boom! A shock wave that was far more terrifying than before, centered on Qin Fuxing, dissipated instantly. Seeing this terrifying shock wave, Qin Daochu's face turned green with fright, and his mind went crazy for warning. Will die. Shocked by this aftermath, he will die. Just when he was uneasy, Qin Daoxian took a step and stood in front of him. The violent shock wave slammed into the spiritual shield held up by Qin Daoxian, and did not affect Qin Daochu behind him at all. This shock wave escaped for a distance of more than 10 miles before slowly dissipating, although they are high enough at the moment. However, the cultivators of the Chen family on Jianghu Island were still frightened by this shocking blow, and they flew towards the sky one after another with the escape light. Go back. Chen Daoxuan's voice rang in the ears of every cultivator of the Chen family who came. Hearing the voice of the young patriarch, everyone felt relieved. He bowed his hands towards the high altitude, and then returned to their respective positions with the escape light. Retired people. Qin Daoxian took a closer look, and Qin Fuxing, who was dressed in cyan spirit armor, actually stood in front of him intact. No wonder Qinyuan Jianzong wants to block the refining method and refining materials of high-level spirit armor. This thing is really scary. Chapter 282, High in the Air. Qin Fuxing took off his spirit armor and flew towards Qin Daoxian and the two. Looking at Qin Fuxing with a normal face, Qin Daoxian couldn't help asking, "How do you feel?" Hearing this, Qin Fuxing was stunned for a moment, thought for a moment and said, "It feels as if the lower abdomen has been hit hard." Qin Fuxing said while rubbing his abdomen. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian suddenly knew something. With the help of the blood marrow, your body refinement has been promoted to the realm of derivation of flesh and blood, which can make you feel that your lower abdomen has been severely hit, enough to lightly injure the unrefined Zifu cultivator. Qin Daoxian sighed, "Although the power of my sword just now is not comparable to that of a senior Jindan cultivator, it has almost reached the threshold of a cultivator in the early stages of Jindan, and it can only cause minor injuries to an ordinary Zifu cultivator." Having said that, Qin Daoxian shook his head. When Qin Fuxing heard this, his face was shocked. "Young patriarch, so, isn't the defensive power of this spirit armor stronger than that of ordinary third-order high-grade spirit armor?" "Indeed so." Qin Daoxian nodded. With the power provided by the White Lotus of Good Fortune, the defensive power exerted by this spirit armor is several grades higher than that of the third-order low-grade spirit armor, and even faintly surpasses the third-order high-grade spirit armor. It has to be said that this small change at the beginning of the Dao has suddenly raised the defense of the spirit armor to a higher level. Hey. Hearing Qin Daoxuan's praise again, Qin Daochu laughed proudly. Although he failed to research the refining method of the third-order spirit armor, the combined power spirit armor developed by the Magical Instrument Research Institute is no less than the third-order spirit armor from a certain point of view. Especially in the hands of the Foundation Establishment cultivator. When a base-building cultivator wears it, even an ordinary Zifu cultivator can't help it. Qin Daoxian stared at the spirit armor in Qin Fuxing's hand, thought for a while, took it from Qin Fuxing's hand, took out the white jade bottle, and continued to drip the power of creation on it. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops. Qin Daoxian stopped immediately after dropping 3 drops of the power of creation. In the next moment, a spiritual charm that was almost 10 times stronger than before flourished on this power spirit armor. 3rd tier top grade. Qin Daochu stared blankly at the scene in front of him. His eyes stared at the white jade bottle in Qin Daoxuan's hand, and his heart was itchy like a cat scratching. Qin Fuxing was also stunned by the scene in front of him. It's just that he knew for a long time that the 2 Dao laws that Qin Daoxian had seized, sold for a sky-high price at Yuanying Jinjuan, and obtained 2 bottles of the power of creation that was refined by Yuanying Jinjuan himself. But it was the first time for Qin Fuxing to see the power of good fortune transforming corruption into a miraculous ability. A long time. The aura on the spirit armor slowly restrained and finally disappeared. Compared to before, the cyan spirit armor has turned into a simple appearance. The fetish is self-deprecating. A word suddenly appeared in Qin Daochu's mind. The appearance of the blue-colored spirit armor in front of him is very much like the legendary fetish treasure. However, a treasure of that level is usually only qualified to control a top-level Jindan real person. Although the cyan spirit armor in front of him is only the 3rd rank top rank, its defensive power is not inferior to the ordinary 4th rank spirit armor. And the preciousness of the 4th order spirit armor is unimaginable for ordinary monks. Not to mention the ordinary Jindan cultivator, even the Jindan real person of Qinyuan Jianzong may not have the 4th order spirit armor. Taking a deep breath, Qin Daoxian said seriously, "Strictly seal all the information about the power spirit armor. Anyone in your hospital who participates in and comes into contact with this magical weapon will be ordered to seal it." "Yes." Qin Daochu cupped his hands and said seriously. He could also see that the power spirit armor created by their Magic Tool Research Institute seemed to be no trivial matter. When the rank of this azure spirit armor was still low, it was still terrifying, but after the refinement of the power of creation, after the rank was raised, the defensive power it erupted not only did not decrease, but became more terrifying. After thinking about it, Qin Daoxian asked Chen Fuxing to wear this spirit armor again. Afterwards he took out a jade card from the storage bag and manipulated the Fourth Order defense formation of Jianghu Island, with 3 people at the center, and a spherical space with a radius of 10 miles was completely shrouded. Seeing Qin Daoxian's actions, Qin Daoqi's face, who guessed what he was doing, turned green with fright. "You go out first." Qin Daoxian turned his head and said. Hearing this, Qin Daoqiu hurriedly flew out of the formation as if he had been granted amnesty. Seeing Qin Daoqiu withdraw 10 miles away, Qin Daoxian turned his head and warned, "Fuxing, I will attack you with all my strength later, but don't be afraid, I will stop in time and won't really hurt you." Qin Fuxing smiled and nodded, "Young patriarch, please." Qin Daoxian nodded slightly and immediately displayed 3 heads and 6 arms, staring at Qin Fuxing in front of him like electricity. The 6 terrifying sword lights covered the entire 10-mile radius. Outside the array, Qin Daoqiu only felt that his eyes were white and he couldn't see anything. The aftermath of the attack madly impacted the Fourth Order defense formation, causing the defensive formation to emit ripples. Qin Daoqiu stood outside the formation and was apprehensive. Half an hour. The aftermath stopped, and the two stood opposite each other in the sky. Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Fuxing, who was safe and sound, and sighed, "If we are in the real fairyland, we have 100 pieces of this kind of spirit armor, and we can completely push all the 4 major demon kingdoms." Qin Fuxing took off his spirit armor, and his face was a little pale, but other than that he didn't have any injuries. He was pale, completely frightened by Qin Daoxian's terrifying aura. In terms of strength, Qin Fuxing is only slightly stronger than the ordinary Zifu late stage, but far less than the monks on the Zifu Tianjiao list. But wearing this pair of Cyan spirit armor, Qin Daoxian, one of the best in the Zifu Tianjiao list, could not hurt him. It is too exaggerated. No wonder the way of body refinement will decline. With this kind of spiritual armor, who would go to work hard to refine the body? Qin Daoxian sighed. Although he sighed in his heart, Qin Daoxian knew that body refining was not useless. On the contrary, a high level of body refinement will not only improve the cultivator's defense, but also greatly improve the cultivator's physical recovery ability. For example, when Qin Daoxian combined his 6 swords, he shattered the head of the Demon King of Blood Prison. But the opponent's monster body was so strong that he actually recovered directly in front of him, and grew ahead again. This kind of injury is absolutely dead on the ordinary Jindan real person. But the Blood Prison Demon King was able to survive this calamity. Although it still can't escape death in the end, the cultivation of the body has indeed greatly enhanced the survivability of the Blood Prison Demon King. It can be said that if Fairy Qi Yao hadn't restrained the opponent with Dao Domain at that time, Qin Daoxian really couldn't kill it. If Qin Fuxing also had such a terrifying body refinement as the Demon King of Blood Prison, he would use this Cyan spirit armor. Qin Daoxian felt that when he met Qin Fuxing he would only have to run away. Although his attack power was 10 times stronger than Qin Fuxing's, Qin Fuxing could see his attack as nothing. What is even more desperate is that Qin Fuxing's spirit armor does not require his own mana, but is powered by the creation of the White Lotus. It is impossible to exhaust the opponent's mana. When you meet such an opponent, do you still play a fart? Even though Qin Fuxing's body training is limited now, Qin Daoxian is a little bit reluctant to get the other party. Although they are both third-order instruments, flying swords and spirit armors are not of the same grade at all. Qin Daoxian sighed again. Who said it wasn't? Qin Daoqiu flew over again. Whether it is the Qinyuan sword sect or the top immortal clan of Wanxinghai, they will not restrict defensive magic weapons, but they will restrict spirit armor, especially high-level spirit armor. The reason is this. As he said that, he looked at Qin Daoxian eagerly and said, "If the power of creation in the hands of the young patriarch is enough, we can mass-produce this kind of high-level spirit armor, but unfortunately." "What are you thinking?" Qin Daoxian glanced at him angrily. The 4 drops of the power of creation just consumed, the raw material of 4 million spirit stones is a trivial matter, but it will cost a nascent soul true monarch 4 full years of hard work. Hearing this, Qin Daoqiu stammered and stopped talking. It took a nascent soul true monarch 4 years to change such a piece of spirit armor, and it was hard to say whether it was worth it or not. For Yuan Yingjinjuan himself, it is definitely not worth it to spend so much effort just for a spirit armor that he himself cannot use. But for the Zifu cultivator who uses this spirit armor is a life-saving artifact, and it is definitely worth it. Let's think about how to refine the third-order spirit armor. Qin Daoxian patted Qin Daochu's shoulder and said. Hearing this, Qin Daochu nodded. Seeing Qin Daochu's dejected look, Qin Daoxian thought for a while and said, but the family has been promoted to so many cultivators in the Purple House this time, and it's impossible to justify without high-level spirit armor. Saying that, he took out a bottle of the power of creation from the storage bag. There are 96 drops of the power of good fortune here, enough to purify 96 pairs of third-order low-grade spirit armor, and hand it over to you. Qin Daoxian handed over the jade bottle. Qin Daochu took the jade bottle and became excited again. Don't be in a hurry to be happy. When will the 96 spiritual armors be handed over to me by your Institute of Magical Weapons? 1 month, no, half a month later. Qin Daochu quickly assured. Seeing him like this, Qin Daoxian smiled and said, in 3 days, give me 10 pairs of spirit armor. No problem. Qin Daochu slapped his chest loudly. After explaining Qin Daoxian looked at Chen Fuxing again. Chen Fuxing saw Qin Daoxian looking at him. Although his eyes were full of reluctance, he still reluctantly removed the temporary imprint of consciousness on the spirit armor and handed over the blue spirit armor. Young Patriarch. Seeing Qin Fuxing respectfully handing over the spirit armor, Qin Daoxian shook his head. Take it, I'll send it to you. This? Qin Fuxing raised his head sharply. Young Patriarch, this is too precious, please forgive me and be ashamed. Saying that, Qin Fuxing bowed his head and offered the spirit armor with both hands. Seeing this, Qin Daoxian slammed his head and scolded, if you want to take it, just take it, why is there so much bullshit? Although Qin Daoxuan's head was buzzing, Qin Fuxing's eyes were still slightly red. All the time. Among the cultivators of the Qin family's blessing generation, he received the most care from the young patriarch. But his return to the young patriarch was very little. This made Qin Fuxing feel very guilty. What's up? Seeing that Qin Fuxing didn't speak, Qin Daoxian said with a smile, have you been fooled by me? Qin Fuxing shook his head silently. Qin Daoxian saw what the other party was thinking. He patted Qin Fuxing on the shoulder and said, Fuxing, you are from my Qin clan and I am your young patriarch. As the young patriarch of the Qin family, isn't it right for me to protect you? The old patriarch took care of me in the same way back then. In our Qin family, it was the elders who supported the younger generation from generation to generation, and the younger generation continued this tradition, and only then can we reach today step by step. So, don't have a burden in your heart. If you really want to repay the family, then take your responsibility and cultivate the younger generation of the family. I expect from you just as the old patriarch expects from me. Qin Fuxing raised his head, just in time to see Qin Daoxuan's gentle eyes, and nodded firmly, Fuxing, remember. Good. Qin Daoxian nodded in relief. Twin Lakes Island. Qin Daoxuan's spiritual residence. In the courtyard of Lingfu, the pavilion and rockery are unique, and next to the pavilion is a newly built Lingqi. On the Lingqi, Yunyun's aura is steaming. Inside the pavilion, a slender young woman wearing a lavender veil was sitting under the pavilion and playing in the water. The little feet that are as bright and white as jade, one by one, tap the pool water lightly, the bright and beautiful eyes, but they stare at the blue sky like a sapphire, in a trance. Looking at this beautiful figure in the pavilion, Qin Daoxian walked over gently, sat down beside the beautiful woman, followed her gaze to the sky and said, What are you looking at? What? Luoli was startled. Cherry opened her mouth slightly, and then slapped his chest angrily. Don't fight, don't fight. Qin Daoxian hurriedly begged for mercy with a smile. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's appearance, Luoli said angrily, People are worried to death here, but you are teasing them with the breath-holding technique. As he spoke, he showed a sullen look. Seeing that Luoli seemed to really have something on her mind, Qin Daoxian gently hugged her shoulders and said softly, What's wrong? Are you worried about seeing my 13th uncle? Luoli nodded slightly. Qin Daoxian smiled and said, You haven't seen my uncle 13. Didn't you say he was very kind to you? But, it's different. Luoli said eagerly, At that time I was helping the Qin family with my father, but now. Luolikio's face flushed red and she was speechless for a while. Ugly daughter-in-law always wants to see her in-laws. Who's ugly? Luoli gave Qin Daoxian a naive glance, which made his heart sway slightly. It's not ugly, it's quite white. Qin Daoxian said, glanced at her smooth and jade-like flesh feet and said in a smirk. You, don't look at it. Not long after Luoli changed shape, her legs were the most sensitive. Qin Daoxian only glanced at it, and she felt a little panic in her heart. She quickly pulled out her little feet from the pool and covered them with purple veils. As everyone knows, her looming appearance makes her even more attractive. Qin Daoxian swallowed unconsciously and looked away slightly. He knew that Luoli had just transformed into shape and her legs were very sensitive. She couldn't stand his teasing and immediately changed the subject. Don't worry, I know Uncle 13 and he will definitely agree with you and me. Qin Daoxian's words quickly calmed Luoli's uneasy heart. I just happen to have something to ask for Uncle 13 or, let's go see him together now, how about that? Now. Luoli was a little flustered, but when she saw Qin Daoxian's clear eyes, her heart suddenly calmed down. She nodded lightly, okay, I'll listen to you. Chapter 283? Just like Qin Daoxian imagined. When Qin Xinhe saw Qin Daoxian and Luoli coming hand in hand, his expression was gentle and he didn't say much. However, Qin Daoxian found that Uncle 13's temples were completely gray. Counting the time, Qin Xinhe is now over 100 years old. Coupled with the fact that Qin Xinhe was injured in the Battle of Zhenangwen that year, if not for the longevity effect of the Millennium Vermilion Fruit, Qin Xinhe would have died. Even if there is 1,000 years of Zhuguo's longevity, Qin Xian's lifespan is not much now. In the secret room, Qin Daoxian sat cross-legged, and now he can only hope that the essence of vitality can bring him some surprises. Although he knew clearly in his heart, the essence of vitality was useless to the soul. Because when the Purple Mansion was opened, Qin Daoxian relied on his own sense of divine soul to incorporate the divine soul into the Purple Mansion. During the whole process, the vitality essence did not help him. In the world of cultivating immortals, all things that can act on the soul are extremely rare treasures. Not to mention let the cultivator's soul fade away from decay and regain its vitality. Now, with the strength of Qin Daoxian and the power of the Qin family getting stronger and stronger, his horizons have also broadened many times than in the past. Qin Daoxian knew how difficult it was to help a cultivator who was close to his lifespan build his foundation. If the essence of vitality has no effect on Uncle 13, then there is only one way to ask the master of Jinhai Palace. The plan now is to continue to strengthen yourself. Think of this. Qin Daoxian simply put away the distracting thoughts in his mind and concentrated on studying how to improve his own strength. After all, the recovery of Zhenangwen is imminent. Although his current strength is difficult to meet opponents in the Zifu period, it is far from enough to meet the powerful Jindan Jinren. Qin Daoxian can't believe it. The real Jindan sent by the Shenqing Dao League to be stationed at Zhenangwen is a Jindan cultivator who has just broken through. Besides, he didn't even know if the Shenqing Dao League had secretly arranged it. If you want to protect yourself and your family in the next battle to recover Zhenangwen, you can only strengthen your own strength. He gave Qin Daochu 96 drops of the power of good fortune to create a third-order power spirit armor, just to strengthen the strength of the clan. Now he wants to improve his strength. Qin Daoxian gained a lot from this trip to the real fairyland. Of all the gains, the first one is naturally that the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic has broken through to the third floor, and has added a new Dao Dao function. Not only that, but he also used the Dao deriving function to record a copy of the battle between a powerful human cultivator and a demon in the true immortal realm thousands of years ago. The Dao Law in the Dao Stone Steel will slowly fade and dissipate over time. And the pictures recorded by the Dao Dao function will never dissipate as long as Qin Daoxian is willing. He can comprehend the powerful acts of the human race all the time, just like an outsider comprehends the Avenue Stone tablet, and the efficiency is not known to be much higher than others. In addition to the breakthrough in the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, the second-place gain is naturally that Qin Daoxian obtained a massive amount of chaos chi from the true immortal origin realm. Not to mention the chaotic aura he obtained by using the fox demons of the Qingqiu demon country and killing thousands of world demons. When the true immortal origin realm returned to the ruins, he obtained the biggest chaotic energy in his life. As a result, there was too much stardust of comprehension fed back by the golden scriptures at the end, expanding the dark red planet to hundreds of miles in diameter, almost bursting the sea of divine light and the sea of consciousness, and he stopped reluctantly. Think of this. Qin Daoxian's consciousness sank into the sea of consciousness, watching the dark red planet that looked like a giant celestial body. Know the sea. Whether it is the golden scriptures or the various light clusters formed by the knowledge he has learned, they all appear very insignificant in front of this dark red planet. This dark red planet occupies more than 90% of the space of the Sea of Consciousness. Looking intently, there is a huge sense of oppression. In fact, according to Qin Daoxian's original consciousness entering the Sea of Consciousness left by the dead immortal, a mere celestial body with a diameter of several hundred kilometers is nothing at all in front of the immortal's boundless Sea of Consciousness. But for Qin Daoxuan's Sea of Consciousness with a diameter of 500 miles, the size of this dark red planet is a bit terrifying. Fortunately, although the size of this planet is large, it does not prevent him from using the functions of enlightenment and derivation of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. This made Qin Daoxian heave a sigh of relief. The bigger the volume, the bigger the volume. At present it seems that there is no harm. On the contrary, because its volume has increased greatly, the consumption of its volume is negligible every time the enlightenment and derivation functions are used. Qin Daoxian muttered. Apart from these two major gains, Qin Daoxian doesn't really value the other gains. For example, the essence of vitality, blood marrow, and the 2 bottles of fortune power that Fairy Qiyao coveted. Among the 3 major gains, the essence of vitality is currently the least helpful to Qin Daoxian himself. Therefore, he gave almost all the essence of vitality to the family, so that the foundation-building cultivators in the family could take this opportunity to be promoted to the Zifu period. The blood marrow was a little more helpful to him. After all, compared with Qi refining, Qin Daoxian's body refining is still far behind, and he is still at the level derived from flesh and blood. Improving body training is also one of the directions that Qin Daoxian will work hard for next. He has seen the perverted demon body of the Demon King of Blood Prison, and he knows how powerful the body is and how much advantage it can have in battle. As for the power of creation he got from selling the law of the Great Tao, it should help him the most at present. Because when he was in the true immortal origin realm, Qin Daoxian discovered that the magic weapon in his hand could no longer keep up with his own strength. The third-order high-grade flying sword is naturally enough for ordinary late-stage cultivators of Zifu. However, with Qin Daoxuan's strong mana and profound kendo realm, the third-order high-grade immortal sword has very limited increase in his strength. If his kendo realm is raised to the 4th realm of the realm, I am afraid that Qin Daoxian holding a third-order high-grade fairy sword is not much different from empty-handed. If there is no power of creation, Qin Daoxian can only find a way to buy the 4th-order fairy sword. Although the 4th-order immortal sword is extremely precious, the price is at least dozens of times more expensive than the 3rd-order high-grade immortal sword. But in general, it is still better to buy than the 3rd-order high-grade spirit armor. Whether it is the Yuanying family or the Qianyuan Jianzong, there are basically immortal swords and other attacking instruments of this rank for sale. The price of a 3rd-order high-grade flying sword usually ranges from 1 million spirit stones to several million spirit stones, depending on the quality of the flying sword. And the 4th-order fairy sword, even the lowest-grade 4th-order low-grade fairy sword, the price has reached the terrifying tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of spirit stones. As for the 4th-order high-grade fairy sword, the price can reach hundreds of millions or even billions of spirit stones. The price of a 4th-order fairy sword is enough to be worth a 4th-order or even 5th-order spiritual vein, which is extremely exaggerated. But this is the case with the treasures of the Xiuxian world. The more high-level monks use the magic weapon and medicine pill, the more terrifying the price. This is still the power of creation in the spirit stone, and high-level monks can also use it. If there is no power of creation in the spirit stone, the spirit stone will be worthless to the aloof nascent soul true monarch. I'm afraid that beings like that will be more inclined to barter. In fact, even if the spirit stone is useful to the true monarch Yuanying, they rarely use the spirit stone directly in the transaction, but regard the refined power of creation as the hard currency for each other. It's just that although the power of creation is good, it requires true monarch Yuanying to spend hard work to refine it. Except for those who have just broken through to the nascent soul stage and need to replace high-level instruments and secret methods, the nascent soul true monarch with a poor value is willing to spend time refining the power of creation. The other wealthy Yuan-ing true monarchs simply do not want to do such drudgery. A cultivator in the early nascent soul spent a year to extract a drop of the power of good fortune from 100 million spiritual stones. The value of this drop of good fortune power is probably worth hundreds of millions of spiritual stones. In other words, Qin Daoxian just smashed the 2nd-order power spirit armor to the 3rd-order low-grade, and spent hundreds of millions of spirit stones, and he could buy a 4th-order flying sword. But in the same way, the power of the 3rd-order low-grade power spirit armor is not comparable to the 3rd-order flying sword. Even a cultivator of Zifu holding a 4th-order flying sword could not break through the defense of this 3rd-order low-grade power spirit armor. This shows the metamorphosis of the high-level spirit armor. In terms of Qi refining, my current Qi refining cultivation base has reached the 6th floor of the Purple Mansion, and then I can use the essence of vitality to raise it to the 9th floor of the Purple Mansion. As for body refinement, although blood marrow can also improve body refinement cultivation, it still takes time to slowly improve compared with Vitality Essence to improve Qi cultivation. In addition to my own cultivation, the promotion of foreign objects now has the greatest improvement in my strength. Qin Daoxian thought about it secretly and quickly sorted out his thoughts. Cleanse the magic weapon. Including a series of attack and defense instruments such as fairy swords and spirit armor, especially spirit armor. Qin Daoxian intends to re-refine his own life spirit armor and the third-grade good fortune White Lotus into a new type of power spirit armor, and then use the power of good fortune to thoroughly refine it. He intends to refine a fourth-order power spirit armor. Qin Daoxian believes that once he has a fourth-order power spirit armor, his body defense will change from the original weakness to his own strength. In terms of soul defense, Qin Daoxian has never been counseled by the golden scriptures in the Sea of Knowledge. In terms of physical defense he is much inferior. But with the fourth-order power spirit armor, the situation will be very different. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian was full of energy. It is not a simple matter to smelt the third-grade good fortune White Lotus and the life spirit armor together. The reason is that his fortune-telling White Lotus is a third-rank top grade, while his life spirit armor is only a second-rank top grade. There is a difference between the two, and the smelting will naturally encounter trouble. Qin Daoxian had to make some improvements in the refining technique Qin Daochu gave him. Fortunately, with the help of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, this improvement went very smoothly. 3 days later, a pair of brand new spirit armor like colored glass floated in front of Qin Daoxian. On the spirit armor, the pattern of lotus flowers is looming, adding a sense of mystery to it. I didn't expect to smelt the third-grade good fortune White Lotus, but I still failed to improve the rank of this spirit armor. Qin Daoxian shook his head. He originally thought about whether he could find another way and use the method of smelting the third-grade fortune-telling White Lotus into the second-grade high-grade spirit armor to upgrade it to the third-grade spirit armor. But it turned out that Qin Daoxian thought too much. The reason why the third-order spirit armor is listed as high-level spirit armor by Qinyuan Jianzong is not without reason. It seems, you can only use the power of creation to be reckless. Qin Daoxian is not someone who is indecisive. After making up his mind he acts very decisively. Shichichi. A drop of the power of creation was dropped by him on the glass spirit armor in front of him. In a blink, the aura on the spirit armor became stronger, and in the end, a vortex of aura was formed in the secret room. Countless auras swarmed towards this pair of spirit armor. Qin Daoxian was already prepared for this, only to see his divine sense come out of the secret room. Then he waved his hand lightly. The huge Ling Qi in the center of the Lingfu courtyard was instantly steamed dry. After the spiritual pool was evaporated, it turned into countless spiritual energy and rushed towards Qin Daoxian's closed room. Fortunately, Qin Daoxian's spiritual residence is guarded by a high-level defensive formation. With such a big movement the outside world can't see any movement at all. Although the outside world could not see it, Luo Li, who was living in the Lingfu at this time, saw this wonderful scene in front of him. Luo Li, who was originally in retreat to refine the essence of vitality, hurried out of the house and stood there in a daze when she saw the terrifying scene in front of her. A long time. She just came out of her mouth. Qin Lang is refining what kind of magic weapon? How can there be such a big movement? In the secret room. The promotion of the glazed spirit armor has reached a critical moment. The coercion and aura on the spirit armor are also getting stronger and stronger. Third order low grade, third order middle grade. Suddenly, the glazed spirit armor seemed to break a certain limitation, and the aura suddenly increased dozens of times. This is a fourth-order low-grade spirit armor. Qin Daoxian was very surprised. However, the change of this glass spirit armor is not over yet. Because Qin Daoxian just dropped the power of creation on it just now is too much. The blue spirit armor in Qin Fuxing's hand, Qin Daoxian used a total of 4 drops of the power of good fortune. The value of these 4 drops of good fortune is definitely more than 1 billion spirit stones, and it is priceless. It took 4 drops of the power of good fortune to promote Qin Daoxian to the third-order high-grade cyan spirit armor. And his glass spirit armor cost a full 50 drops of the power of good fortune. Just upgrading to the fourth-order lower grade is naturally far from over. Really. As the limitation of this glazed spirit armor was broken, and after being promoted to the fourth-order low-grade spirit armor, the aura condensed at its core became stronger and stronger. Gradually, even Qin Daoxian felt a huge pressure. You must know that in terms of strength, today's Qin Daoxian is almost comparable to the weaker middle-stage Jindan cultivator. Even so, he was still intimidated by the coercion of this spirit armor. Fortunately, this spirit armor was a defensive magic weapon. If it attacked the magic weapon, it would explode at such a close distance and Qin Daoxian would be seriously injured. Tier 4 middle grade, Tier 4 top grade. After the spirit armor was upgraded to the 4th rank high grade, Ling Yun continued to climb a bit, and then slowly converged into the interior of the spirit armor. 4th level high grade spirit armor. Qin Daoxian stared at the pair of spirit armor in front of him, and his breathing gradually became faster. He was sure that more than 90% of Jindan real people could not have a 4th order high grade spirit armor by their side. Not to mention the enhanced version of the 4th order high grade spirit armor in his hand. Thanks to the White Lotus of Good Fortune as the core power source, the defensive power of this 4th order high grade spirit armor in Qin Daoxian's hands is almost as good as that of the 5th rank low grade spirit armor. 5th order spirit armor, that is the treasure that Yuan Ying Jinjuan is qualified to possess. And it's not the kind of Yuan Ying Jinjuan who just broke through. With this spirit armor, Qin Daoxian's defensive power has become his longest point from the original short board. True monarch non-Yuan Ying cannot be broken. Touching the glazed spirit armor in front of him, Qin Daoxian suddenly said such a sentence. Chapter 284, In the Secret Room. Qin Daoxian looked at the mini cyan-colored glass spirit armor suspended in his palm, and the more he looked at it, the more joy he felt in his heart. 50 drops of the power of creation, at least tens of billions of spirit stones. Qin Daoxian shook his head. So many spirit stones in exchange for spirit armor, TSK? He knew in his heart that it would be difficult to obtain the second piece of spirit armor of this rank in a short period of time. Because of the remaining 50 drops of the power of creation, Qin Daoxian will also use it to promote his life-flying sword and keep it for emergencies. It is impossible to use up all of it. The power of good fortune, unless Qin Daoxian becomes a cultivator of Yuan Ying, it may not be so easy to obtain it again. Think of this. Qin Daoxian couldn't help feeling distressed for the 96 drops of the power of creation that Qin Daochu was going to. 96 drops of the power of creation can almost be promoted to 2 4th order high-grade power spirit armors. In theory, it is not very cost-effective to replace it with 96 3rd order spirit armors. After all, the value of a piece of high-grade 4th grade spirit armor is definitely above 50 pairs of low-grade 3rd grade spirit armor. But in terms of the increase in the strength of the family, 100 pairs of 3rd order low-grade spirit armors obviously improved the strength of the Qin family even more. Because the Qin family is about to give birth to hundreds of cultivators in the Zifu, it is precisely when a large number of 3rd order spirit armors are needed, and a single 4th order spirit armor does not improve the family's strength so significantly. Of course, Qin Daoxian also has a way, that is to use the favor owed to him by the owner of Jinhai Palace, and use 96 drops of the power of good fortune to find Qinyuan Jianzong to buy 3rd order spirit armor, so there must be more than one 3rd order spirit armor that can be bought. Hundreds. But looking for the 3rd order low-grade spirit armor exchanged by Qinyuan Jianzong, firstly, the defense power is far less than the 3rd rank low-grade power spirit armor refined by the Qin family. You must know that the favors owed to him by the Hall Master of Jinhai Palace were exchanged for the most precious space Dao Law of the true immortal origin realm. Even the Hall Master of Jinhai Palace could not estimate the value of this treasure for a while, so he could only owe Qin Daoxian a favor. This kind of favor, or the grace of enlightenment, the Hall Master of Jinhai Palace must pay a considerable price to repay. If Qin Daoxian wasted like this favor would become less and less valuable. Human affection is the most unbearable thing to consume. And Qin Daoxian has already figured out how to use this favor, and he will not waste it just because of a few 3rd order spirit armors. After refining the natal spirit armor, Qin Daoxian did the same, and promoted Fei Xue and Qingying 2 natal swords to the 4th rank high grade. The 4th order high-grade flying sword should only be used by Jindan real people. With Qin Daoxian's strength he can barely use it, but it consumes a lot. But with the 4th order high-grade power spirit armor, the last thing Qin Daoxian is afraid of is consumption. In his life spirit armor, there is a 4th grade good fortune white lotus inlaid, which can store a huge amount of mana. Although he has not done any specific experiments, he estimates that this copy of life spirit armor can store more than 100 times his own mana. With such a treasure, how could Qin Daoxian be afraid to consume it? Lingjiao and Feijin were all refined and promoted, and Qin Daoxian still had 40 drops of the power of creation left in his hands. These 40 drops of the power of creation, Qin Daoxian intends to store in the family library, will not be used again easily. The next days, Qin Daoxian used the essence of vitality to raise his cultivation base to the 9th floor of the Purple Mansion. So far, the benefits he gained from the true immortal origin realm have been initially digested. Although he owns 2 high-grade 4th-rank immortal swords, his immortal sword's attack power has only jumped from the top Jindan early stage to the ordinary Jindan middle stage, which is almost comparable to that of the Blood Prison Demon King. But Qin Daoxian's defense has improved too much. With the defensive power of the 4th-tier high-grade power spirit armor, let alone the Jindan cultivator, I am afraid that even the attack of the Yuanying Jinjuan, he can withstand a few times. With his current strength he can say that Zifu is invincible. Even with the defensive power of the 4th order high-grade power spirit armor, Qin Daoxian at this time was extremely difficult to deal with in the real person of Jindan. Because other Jindan cultivators could not break Qin Daoxian's defense at all except to restrict him by various means. Unexpectedly, I still have such a day of hob meat. Looking at the deep mana gushing out from the sea of Dantian Qi, Qin Daoxian opened his eyes and smiled. Outside the secret, a Miomon woman wearing a lavender veil is waiting. Suddenly the door to the secret room opened. A white figure came out of the secret room. Seeing Qin Daoxian, Luo Li's beautiful eyes lit up slightly, and she hurriedly stepped forward, took Ai Lang's hand, looked up and down, and said with a salute, "Congratulations to your husband for being promoted to the 9th floor of the Purple Mansion. Jindan is in sight." When Qin Daoxian heard the words he felt joyful in his heart and cupped his hands. "Congratulations to Madam for being promoted to the late stage of Zifu." Hear this. Luo Li showed a smile, and her smile enhanced even the scenery in the courtyard. "By the way, you said last time you wanted to take me to Lingbei Island with you. I don't know when to leave?" Luo Li tilted her head and looked at Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian said with a smile, "The head of the Zhou family, Zhou Mingho, broke through the golden pill and invited cultivators from all families to watch the ceremony. My Qin family was also invited." After he said that, he pondered for a moment. "You are now in the late period of Zifu, although it is still early to break through the golden pill and cross the golden pill, but going to see the golden pill cultivator crossing the calamity will have countless benefits for both of you and me." Golden Core Thunder Tribulation. Luo Li's beautiful eyes lit up. Like human monks, mercenary formations also need to transcend tribulation, and the power of thunder tribulation does not need to be small for human monks at all. With the help of the essence of vitality, Luo Li's cultivation improved by leaps and bounds, reaching the 7th floor of the Purple Mansion. But her comprehension of the law of the Great Tao is only in the 1st realm, which is not as good as that of an ordinary Zifu cultivator. Her strength is naturally the bottom of the Zifu cultivator. Even in the late period of Zifu, I am afraid it is not much better than Yang Gongwan, a cultivator in the early period of Zifu. However, compared with Yang Gongwan, Luo Li has Qin Daoxian as a Taoist companion, and the speed of improvement in the realm of the Great Tao will definitely be faster in the future. In this way, crossing the Golden Pill Thunder Tribulation is not something that is out of reach for her. Of course, Luo Li didn't realize this yet. She simply wanted to see what the rumored terrifying Golden Core Thunder Tribulation was like. Thinking of this, she couldn't wait even more, and a pair of beautiful eyes looked at Qin Daoxian expectantly. Looking at her with such expectant eyes, Qin Daoxian stroked her hair and said, "Don't worry, I will naturally take you there when I finish my family affairs." He paused. It takes a long time for the Zifu cultivator to break through the golden pill, ranging from half a year to several years. Even if we go now, I'm afraid we will have to wait. It was a few months ago that the Zhou family sent out invitations to the outside world. If you count the time, Zhou Mingho is afraid that the step of linking Dan has not been completed, let alone survive the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation. Well, the husband is in charge. Luo Li blushed. Settled down lowly. Qin Daoxian flew straight towards the location of the Qin family's discussion hall. Consciousness swept away. Qin Daoxian found Qin Daolian's location. After a stick of incense, Qin Daoxian found Qin Daolian, who was working at a desk in a quaint fairy hall. This is not only the financial department of the Qin family, but also the core authority of the Qin family. In the hall, a slender figure sat at the table looking at various jade slips. Next to it, a group of female cultivators from the Qin family were helping Qin Daolian sort out the information. In the days when Qin Daoxian was not in the family, Qin Daolian not only had to manage the affairs of the Qin family, but also managed a large immortal city, which made him a little tired. Missing half a month, Qin Daoxian found that Qin Daolian had broken through to the Purple Palace period. "Daolian, congratulations on your promotion to Zifu." Hearing the gentle voice in her ear, Qin Dalian raised her head quickly and said in surprise, "Young Patriarch, you are here." Having said that, he stood up from the table and walked up to Qin Daoxian quickly. Qin Daoxian nodded with a smile. "Come and see you." Hearing this, Qin Dalian said with a smile, "If the young Patriarch wants to see me, he should call me directly. Why should he come to the door in person?" During this period of time, you must have been so busy with your family and Xiancheng's affairs that your head is three-pointed. It's not too unkind to call you again as an idler. Hearing these joking words, Qin Dalian covered her mouth and laughed lightly. While joking, Qin Daoxian waved to the female cultivator of the Chen family who saluted him. Seeing that only he and Qin Dalian were left in the hall, Qin Daoxian restrained the smile on his face and asked, "How is it? Have all the selected monks been promoted to the Purple Palace period?" "Talk about business." Qin Dalian immediately became serious and said, "Chief Patriarch, the family has selected a total of 488 foundation building cultivators. Currently, there are 483 people who have been promoted to the Zifu period, and 5 people have not been able to break through." Hearing this, Qin Daoxian frowned. 13 bottles of vitality essence, can't break through the Purple Palace? Seeing that Qin Dalian was speechless, Qin Daoxian waved his hand and said, "Forget it, the resource supply for these 5 people will be lowered by 1 level in the future." "Yes, young Patriarch." Qin Dalian responded. "Did you send the spirit armor of the Magical Instrument Research Institute to you?" "Sent here." Speaking of the Third Order spirit armor, Qin Daolian's eyes lit up. "Young Patriarch, these Third Order spirit armors are too precious. I don't think they can just supply the clansmen for free." Qin Daoxian nodded. "That's the reason. The reason why the essence of vitality is distributed to the clansmen is because it is not easy to preserve, either sell it to the outside world or use it early. My Qin family has no shortage of spirit stones, so it is naturally impossible to sell them. The only way is to select clan members in advance and use them for clan members. But the Third Order spirit armor is different. Most of these Third Order spirit armors need to be stored in the clan library, and will be used to reward potential and contributing clansmen in the future." Hear this. Qin Dalian nodded again and again. "I have the same opinion as you. The family's promotion of so many Zifu cultivators at one time, although the family's strength has skyrocketed, it has also broken the distribution system that the family has established for a long time. If these Third Order spirit armors are distributed easily, it will inevitably make some clansmen feel that they can get something for nothing, which is not conducive to the development of the clan." "Good." Hearing Qin Daolian's opinion, Qin Daoxian nodded with satisfaction. He found that after managing the family during this period, Qin Dalian grew rapidly. Although the flow of people in Guanhai Xianqing dropped drastically during the time he was away from home, it was not a management problem of Qin Dalian, but the competition between Zhou and Yang and the Qin family. Except for Guanhai Xianqing, the Qin family did not encounter any problems in the clan of Jianghu Island. This is enough to prove Qin Daolian's ability to manage the family. Then what do you think should be done with this batch of Third Order spirit armor? These spirit armors were indeed prepared by Qin Daoxian for the newly promoted cultivator of the Zifu family. He wanted to equip the family monks with armor, but was worried that the free supply would make the clan slack. Qin Dalian pondered for a moment, then looked up and said, "Provide 50 pairs of spirit armor to the military, temporarily store the remaining 46 pairs of spirit armor in the family library, and then use the method of consuming family contribution points to lend it to the clan." "Rental?" Qin Daoxian pondered. "The Third Order spirit armor is priceless. Even if it is sold to the clansmen, few clansmen can afford it, and the way of leasing is not bad. It can not only enhance the strength of the tribe, but also will not let them have the idea of getting something for nothing." Qin Dalian nodded. "That's the truth. In the future, if there are clansmen who can afford it, they can also buy it back. Of course, whether or not to sell it to the clansmen is up to you, the young Patriarch." "Little slicker." Qin Daoxian smiled and shook his head. He pondered for a while and waved his hand. "It's good to give the clan a hope. In the future, if the clan can afford these spirit armors, they can buy them directly. The price is tentatively set at 300 million spirit stones." 300 million spirit stones? I am afraid that even a drop of the power of creation can't afford it. This price is already the price of falling through the center of the earth. If it was sold to outsiders, Qin Daoxian would not sell it even if he bid 1 billion. 1 billion spiritual stones is almost the value of 10 Fourth Order spiritual veins. Even if the Third Order high-grade spirit armor is at most this price, But the third-order spirit armor of the Qin family is different. It has the white lotus of good fortune as a power source. When using it, it not only does not need to consume the mana of the master, but also can explode stronger defense. Although it is only a third-order low-grade spirit armor, in the hands of a Zifu cultivator, it is much stronger than an ordinary third-order high-grade spirit armor. Qin Dalian has seen her high-level spirit armor and knows the horror of this kind of power spirit armor. The price of 300 million spirit stones is really no different from half selling and half giving away. In the same way, the third-order spirit armor at this price, even if there are cultivators in the clan who can afford it in the future, the clan will not allow them to buy the spirit armor and sell it to the outside world. This kind of behavior of reselling the family's welfare is undoubtedly digging the foundation of the family. If the family finds out, it will be punished as the crime of treason. The two finished discussing the spirit armor. Qin Daoxian said again, "By the way, what you said at the clan last time, the problem of the decrease in the flow of people in Guanhai Xianqing, what is going on?" Heard. Qin Dalian smiled bitterly and explained the ins and outs of the matter. After Qin Daoxian heard this, he immediately knew why this happened. After all, this incident was caused by the Qin family themselves. Originally, the spirit stone coins issued by the Qin family were only used in Guanhai Xianqing, and did not have much impact on other immortal cities in Guang'an Prefecture. But as the Qin family's power grew step by step, they were no longer satisfied with using spirit stone coins only in the city of Guanhai Xianqing. Instead, he cast his eyes on the entire Guang'an Prefecture. More importantly, this behavior has also been acquiesced by Qin Daoxian. As a result, a silent currency invasion began silently under the guidance of the Chongping Central Bank. It's just that the Zhou family and the Yang family are not fools. This kind of naked digging of other people's foundations, insightful people from the Zhou and Yang family soon discovered. As a result, a joint operation against the Qin family Guanhai Xianqing quickly started with the tacit understanding of the Zhou and Yang families. The Qin Daoxian and Qin Fuxing are not in the clan. The strongest of the Qin family is only in the early stage of foundation building. Whether compared with the Zhou family or the Yang family, their strength is far from being on the same level. If it wasn't for Qin Daoxuan's face. Not to mention that the flow of people in Guanhai Xianqing has plummeted, and it is possible that the Qin family will be knocked down. Looking at Qin Daolian's bitter face, Qin Daoxian smiled and said, "Don't make a bitter face, I told you how hard it was when the spirit stone coins were issued. The difficulties we encounter now are nothing at all, and in the future, we will encounter more and more resistance." After thinking for a while, Qin Daoxian continued, "The way the Zhou family and the Yang family attacked my Qin family Xianqing is just to give benefits to the loose cultivators. But they forgot that even if they gave the benefits to the loose cultivators, in essence the major immortal cities were still exploiting the loose cultivators." He paused. "Xianqing's cake is so big, family cultivators eat more and loose cultivators eat less. This is a zero-sum game. We compete with Zhou and Yang in this way, and in the end it's just a matter of competition and consumption of heritage. So, I'm going to change the way of competition." Qin Dalian was taken aback. "In what way?" "I intend to scale up the industry." "Expanding the scale of industry?" Qin Dalian was startled. "You mean?" "Yes, it's time to implement the industrial fairy city plan I proposed to you." Qin Daoxuan's eyes were deep. Hearing the words industrial fairy city plan, Qin Dalian trembled slightly with excitement. "My Qin family, have you finally taken this step now?" she murmured. Chapter 285. Seeing Qin Daolian's excited appearance, Qin Daoxian said with a smile, "Don't be in a hurry to get excited. It will not happen overnight to build our Guanhai Xianqing into an industrial fairy city. This is different from the small industrial zone on Jianghu Island." Hearing this reminder, Qin Dalian also calmed down and nodded seriously. As the acting patriarch of the Qin family, Qin Dalian has been worrying about the family's industrial production issues during this time. After all, these industries are the lifeblood of the Qin family. She knew that the industrial area of Jianghu Island was completely different from the industrial city described by Qin Daoxian. The industrial fairy city that Qin Daoxian wants to build is not so much to industrialize Guanhai Xianqing, but to create an industrial city circle with the industrial city of Guanhai Xianqing as the core. Nowadays, the industries involved in the Qin family are divided into three categories: the magic tool industry, the medicine industry, and the magic talisman industry. But break it down. Each of these industrial types can be divided into countless industrial branches. Just like the magic industry. After so many years of development and perfection, the Qin family's current magic tool industry is no longer the time to rely on a melting furnace to conquer the world. Now, the Qin family's magic tool industry can produce most of the first-order and second-order magic tools. Note that the magic weapon here does not only refer to flying swords, but even spirit armor and other auxiliary magic tools. Of course, the core of the magic weapon industry is the Rongling furnace. Because of the existence of the Rongling furnace, the Qin family's half-handed craftsmen can grow up quickly, and their efficiency is dozens of times that of traditional craftsmen. In the Jianghu Island industrial zone, it is not an easy thing to produce a magic weapon from scratch. Problems need to be solved, including the supply of spiritual ore, the production of melting furnace, the construction of factory buildings, the production process of magic tools, the training of smiths, and the training of industrial workers. There are also energy issues in the production of instruments, environmental pollution issues, and so on. Solving all these problems will not happen overnight. Under the guidance of Qin Daoxian, the Qin family has been groping for decades before they can confidently say that they have so much experience. If outsiders only get a melting furnace, at best they can set up a handicraft workshop like Qin Daoxian. It is simply unrealistic to achieve industrial production on the scale of the Qin family. The Qin family's magical instrument industry has developed to this day, and it is no longer comparable to the handicraft workshops of the past. Even the Institute of Magical Instruments has been studying the automatic refining equipment that abandons the half-handed refiner. Once successful, the Qin family's instrument industry is truly unique. Although the development time of the medicine pill industry is a little shorter, it is also the same. Small workshop production and large-scale factory production are completely different. Qin Jia spent decades improving the production process, summarizing production experience and improving production technology, and finally realized the leap from a small workshop to a large factory. The hardships involved are unimaginable to outsiders. Because the Qin family has been exploring on their own from beginning to end, and has no experience to refer to. Even Qin Daoxian couldn't give them much help. After all, the industrial production in the immortal cultivation world is not the same as the industrial production in the previous life, and it is specious in many places. Dalian, how many monks in my Qin family are working in the magic weapon factory? Heard. Qin Dalian blurted out, there are a total of 7,657 people. So much. Qin Daoxian was amazed. Qin Dalian nodded and said, the family's magic weapon factory provides the most jobs for the monks in the family. In this regard, the family's medicine pill factory can't be compared. There are only about 30,000 monks in the family, and there are nearly 8,000 people in the magic weapon factory, which is about one-third of the family's monk population. Yes, Qin Dalian sighed, the magic weapon factory needs the largest number of monks, and its production efficiency is also the lowest compared to the medicine pill factory and the magic talisman factory. A large population demand is a good thing, what I want is that it has a large population demand. Hearing this, Qin Dalian was a little confused. After thinking for a while, Qin Dalian raised her head. What do you mean the employment population required by the magic weapon factory has something to do with the competition between Lingde Immortal City and Guang'an Prefecture Immortal City? Of course it does, Qin Daoxian smiled and said, why can the Zhou family and the Yang family rob me of the loose repairs in Guanhai Xianqing? It's not by paying higher wages to those who are attached to them. However, whether the loose cultivators are planting spiritual fields for the Zhou and Yang families or raising spiritual beasts for the two families, their own productivity is limited. No matter how high the wages the Zhou Yang family gave them, it was impossible to exceed the value created by the loose cultivators. When Qin Dalian heard these words, she thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. The Zhou family and the Yang family are not philanthropists either. In Wangxinghai, any immortal city is essentially serving the owner of the immortal city and seeking benefits for them. And the major immortal cities attract scattered cultivators because the more scattered cultivators, the greater the benefits they can create for immortal cities. As the owner of Xianqing, you can reap more benefits. At the same time, the ruler of Xianqing will also give some soup to the loose cultivators to maintain a stable economic cycle. Of course, in this process, exploitation is inevitable. As for the degree of exploitation, it depends on their means and degree of ruthlessness. The Qin family's Guanhai Xianqing is also one of them. The income of Guanhai Xianqing once surpassed the Qin family's magic weapon factory and medicine pill factory, until the factory was expanded and the magic talisman factory was established. These major industrial industries have become the unshakable core interests of the Chen family. This shows how terrifying the interests of a fairy city are. After all, Guanhai Xianqing is just a small town with a population of only hundreds of thousands of resident monks. Not to mention compared to the big immortal city with a population of tens of millions of monks like Yuanshan Xianqing. Even compared with the immortal city of Guang'an Prefecture, the immortal city of Guanhai is far inferior. Such a small fairy city, the benefits are so exaggerated. One can imagine how terrifying the annual benefits of a large immortal city like Yuanshan Immortal City should be. It's no wonder that Jinjuan Yuanshan took out 10 billion spiritual stones and asked Zhou Mubai to take action. Then, from Qin Daoxuan's hands, he spent 120 drops of the power of creation to take away a stone tablet. Qin Daoxian even suspected that the 120 drops of the power of good fortune were probably bought by Yuanshan Zhenjin's spirit stone, and not extracted by him himself. After all, this is a good money lord. Seeing Qin Daolian's thoughtful look, Qin Daoxian continued, and the loose cultivators are not the same in our Qin family's hands, they will work in our factory. In this way, the value created by the loose cultivators is at least dozens or even hundreds of times higher than in the past. And the benefits we give to the loose cultivators are far beyond what the Zhou family and Yang family can match. Hear this. Qin Daolian's eyes opened wider and wider, and in the end even her breathing became rapid. She couldn't believe it, but she couldn't think of a reason to refute it. Seeing her unbelievable appearance, Qin Daoxian understood her very well. I haven't personally seen the crushing of advanced industrial production on backward manual production, and I can't believe the gap. Qin Daolian still knows how high the production efficiency of his magic weapon factory is. Changed to someone who had never seen the Qin family's magic tool factory, and thought that Qin Daoxian was just talking nonsense. Qin Daoxian smiled confidently and said, "There are many things to do to build an industrial fairy city, but the first step is to build a school in Guanhai Xianqing." Build a school? Qin Daolian suddenly remembered the days when Qin Daoxian taught them to make utensils in the handicraft workshop. You mean build a school to train professional craftsmen? Qin Daoxian knew the meaning of the so-called professional refiner in Qin Daolian's mouth. Nodding, yes. He paused. Building this school is not easy. In addition to ensuring enough melting furnaces, it also needs abundant industrial workers to help them. Therefore, we must continue to train industrial workers. You mean we have to build crash schools for ordinary industrial workers? Yes, and it's a massive construction. Qin Daoxian nodded. When Qin Daolian heard these words, she didn't dare to neglect her. She hurried to the table and picked up a blank jade slip. Combine the opinions Qin Daoxian just put forward, combined with his own thoughts, and enter them into the jade slip one by one. After recording the jade slip, Qin Daolian raised her head. Young patriarch, let ordinary people and family monks work together in the clan. I still have the confidence to manage, but let ordinary people and loose cultivators work together. I am worried. Worried that the loose cultivator will insult ordinary mortals? Qin Daolian nodded. There will be black sheep everywhere, just deal with them after they are found. Qin Daoxuan's expression was indifferent. But we can't be intimidated by those black sheep. The nearly 500 cultivators of the Zifu family can't suppress a fairy city? What are you afraid of? Hearing this, Qin Daolian was suddenly shocked. If the young patriarch didn't say anything, she had forgotten that the Qin family had long since changed. Southwest waters of Wuxia. High in the air. A spirit boat departed from Taizhou and flew towards Zhangzhou. Inside the Lingzhou cabin is a small cave full of immortal energy. In the depths of the cave stood a fairy palace, and vaguely, you could see the beautiful maids passing through it. In the center of Asgard, in an empty hall, 2 monks, one old and one young, are playing a game. Generally speaking, monks who are successful in practice will have good looks and skills, and they are no different from young people in appearance. However, this monk looked like an old man. However, his cultivation base is extremely high, and he can become the nascent soul true monarch in just one step. He is a top-level Jindan real person. The young man opposite the old man has a bright and starry eyes. What is more eye-catching is that there is a divine pattern on the center of his eyebrows. This person is the Daozi of the Jiang family, Jiang Chenai. Snapped. Saying that, the silver-haired old man fell and immediately captured Jiang Chenye's dragon. Jiang Chenai was stunned for a moment, and then he cupped his hands with a wry smile. 7th uncle's chess is far superior to me, and Chenyi is convinced. Who knows to hear this? The silver-haired old man shook his head. It's not that my chess skills are far superior to yours, but your heart is too messy to be on this chessboard at all. With that said, the silver-haired old man gently put the remaining pieces in the jade urn. Seeing Jiang Qinyes' dejected expression, the silver-haired old man asked, "This old man has practiced for more than 630 years. During this period he has seen countless geniuses, but most of them have turned into a handful of loss. You know why this is?" Jiang Qinyes shook his head. "Compared with the endless avenue, you and I are no different. You are just a drop in the ocean, a momentary lead in the face of this long road to seek the road. What is it?" Seeing Jiang Qinyes being thoughtful, the silver-haired old man continued, "On the path of cultivation, what is more precious than courage and diligence is to have a persevering and never give up Tao heart." Heard. Jiang Qinyes was stunned for a while. After a long time, he raised his head and solemnly bowed his hands to the silver-haired old man. "Thank you, seventh uncle, for clearing your doubts." Seeing his appearance, the silver-haired old man nodded in relief. "When you come to Zhangzhou this time, I will help you cut off your demons." The silver-haired old man smiled indifferently. Hearing this, Jiang Qinyes' mind suddenly became alive. "Seventh uncle, do you think Zhou Mingho, the ancestor of the Zhou family, can survive the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation?" Hear the words Jindan Leijia. Even though the silver-haired old man was in the late stage of Jindan cultivation, he still looked serious. Jindan Thunder Calamity is no trivial matter. Even if he reaches the third stage of the Great Tao, he still does not dare to say that he will be able to survive this calamity. As far as I know, Zhou Mingho is only in the realm of the second layer of the Tao. It is difficult. Saying that, the silver-haired old man shook his head. Hearing this, Jiang Qinyes, who was going to survive the calamity in the future, felt tight in his heart. Even the seventh uncle, who is known as the closest ancestor to the nascent soul ancestor in the clan, has changed his color about the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation. One can imagine the horror of this catastrophe. As if thinking of something, Jiang Qinyes frowned. "If that's the case, why does the family send such a big gift to the Zhou family? You said that these 10 third-order high-grade spirit armors?" The silver-haired old man smiled. "This is Zhou Mingho's congratulatory gift after he succeeded in breaking through the golden pill. If he fails..." He shook his head. "Then let's choose the Qin family." "Qin family?" Jiang Qinyes frowned. For some reason, when he mentioned the Qin family, he thought of Qin Daoxian. This little guy, who was not in his eyes at all, actually stood up in the real fairy source world with a sweeping attitude, which made him, Jiang Jia Tianjiao, extremely uncomfortable. But Jiang Qinyes knew that choosing a proxy family in Zhangzhou was the family's grand strategy, and it was impossible for him to change it based on his personal preferences. The silver-haired old man did not know what Jiang Qinyes was thinking and said to himself, "The Zhou family and the Qin family are the two most potential families in Zhangzhou. The Zhou family, as an old-fashioned Jindan family, has a deep family background, while the Qin family's background is shallow, but Qin Daoxuan's potential seems to be greater than that of Zhou Mubai. So my Jiang family wants to secretly control Zhangzhou, so I can only choose one of these two big families." Seventh uncle is more optimistic about the Zhou family? "Do not." The silver-haired old man shook his head. "I'm more optimistic about the Qin family." Jiang Qinyes' right hand tightened slightly. He smiled and said, "Oh? Is it because of Qin Daoxian?" "Not just because of him." The silver-haired old man shook his head. "I have carefully investigated the Qin family, and I found that the rise of this family was completed in less than 30 years. "What?" Jiang Qinyes looked at the silver-haired old man in disbelief, and was speechless. In Wan Xinghai, which immortal clan does not have a 1,000-year-old heritage. As for his Jiang family, its inheritance has a long history, and it can even be traced back to the ancient times. It is a branch of the real ancient immortal clan. And what about the Qin family? In less than 30 years, it has risen to become a family that can rival a 1,000-year-old family like the Zhou family. This Qin family must have a big secret. Jiang Qinyes was decisive. "There must be a secret," the silver-haired old man nodded. "Actually, each family has its own secrets to grow and develop, and it's probably just some means of earning money. I'm not curious about this secret. As long as his Qin family can be used by my Jiang family, that's enough. But, since the Qin family is not short of money, can it still be used by my Jiang family?" "Of course." The silver-haired old man smiled and said, "Do you think the method of refining purple armor can impress the Qin family?" "What?" Hearing this, Jiang Qinyes' eyes widened. Chapter 286. Twin Lakes Island. In front of a quaint building, a white-haired old man was lying on a reclining chair, basking in the sun leisurely. "Uncle 13." Hearing this call, Qin Xinhe raised his head, and a smile appeared on his wrinkled face. Coming. Qin Daoxian didn't see anything. He found a low stool to sit down at will, reached out and picked up a spiritual fruit in the fruit tray beside the reclining chair, and put it in his mouth. The fiery red spirit fruit was chewed by him, and his tongue became fragrant. Well, the fire crystal fruit from Changping Mansion tastes really good. Looking at Qin Daoxian's greedy image, Qin Xinhe smiled and said, Huojingguo is a treasure that is as famous as my Qin family's water spirit beads. Long-term consumption is of great benefit to low-level monks. Speaking of this, Qin Xinhe sighed, our Qin family is really not what it used to be. I remember that we worked hard to save a little restorative tea, but hid it and was reluctant to drink it. Even if we want to drink it, we drink it piece by piece. Just like today, the fire crystal fruit, which is 10 times more valuable, is eaten as an ordinary dessert. Huojingguo, Shui Lingzhu, Yunshin tea, these kinds of treasures have miraculous effects on chi-refining cultivators. I have not eaten or used less in recent years, but unfortunately. Qin Xinhe shook his head wearily. Uncle 13. Qin Daoxian's expression was a little heavy. You don't need to comfort me. In fact, I can live to this day, and I am satisfied to see the grand scene of the Qin family at this time with my own eyes. Qin Xinhe paused and took out an unused bottle of vitality essence from the storage bag. Daoxian, I'm sorry, from now on our family will depend on you. Qin Daoxian tremblingly took the vitality essence that Qin Xinhe handed over. Although he didn't have much hope for Qin Xinhe to use the essence of vitality to build a foundation, he still felt heart-wrenching pain when he saw this cruel scene with his own eyes. For him, the 13th uncle is not only a leader on the path of cultivation, but also plays a father-like role. When he was weak, shelter him from the wind and rain. Helped him as he revitalized his family. Although Qin Xian's ability is limited, on the issue of family development, Qin Xinhe has never hindered Qin Daoxian from beginning to end. Distrust. Looking at any family or sect in the world of immortal cultivation, it is very rare. After all, who can entrust the family to a boy who is only 16 years old while he is still alive? Only Qin Xinhe. Uncle 13, I will definitely find a treasure for you to reverse the decay of the soul. This time, Qin Xinhe did not dissuade him. He knew that Qin Daoxian had too much unwillingness in his heart for his sitting. Obviously, with the current financial resources of the Qin family, it is as easy as eating and drinking for a chi-refining cultivator to build a foundation. But he was powerless to the longevity of the old Qin family. This kind of feeling is like a billionaire watching his relatives who could have been cured with just a small amount of money, but because he lacked money and could not be treated in time, he was terminally ill, and finally he had to stay in bed and wait to die. This kind of pain, people who have not experienced it, can't understand it at all. The reason why Qin Xinhe did not dissuade Qin Daoxian was because Qin Xinhe knew that Qin Daoxian must be very painful at this moment. This kind of pain of watching their relatives die is also one of the disasters that monks must experience. The reason why many cultivators become indifferent is because they have practiced for a long time, and they have experienced emotional numbness after too many separations. Qin Daoxian felt pain because he was still young and it was the first time he had experienced this feeling. Facing Qin Xian's gentle gaze, Qin Daoxian's belief became more and more firm. He will definitely find the treasure that heals the soul for Qin Xinhe. He must let Qin Xinhe build the foundation successfully. Think of this. The haze on Qin Daoxian's face disappeared, and he smiled again and said, Uncle 13, I want to bring Cangzhou into the Qin family's control. There was also a smile on Qin Xian's wrinkled face. I believe you can do it well. It seemed that Qin Xinhe looked a little tired. Qin Daoxian cupped his hands and said, Uncle 13, please rest, I will come back to see you again. Qin Xinhe agreed but closed his eyes slightly and made a slight snoring sound. It turned out that he fell asleep. Qin Daoxian stood up, walked into the house, took out a blanket and gently covered Qin Xinhe. After doing all this, he whispered to the maid who was standing next to him and was in charge of serving Qin Xinhe, Take care of the old patriarch. Yes, young patriarch. The maid responded with sincerity and fear. This maid is not a monk, but an ordinary member of the Qin family. Qin Daoxian not only has great power, but his own cultivation has reached the 9th floor of the Purple Mansion. Even if he has restrained all the momentum on his body, ordinary people will still have a kind of fear from their hearts when facing him. Essentially, this is a kind of coercion of higher beings on the souls of lower beings, and it cannot be eliminated by restraining momentum at all. After visiting Qin Xinhe, Qin Daoxian rushed back to his Lingfu called Luoli who was in retreat, and then brought a group of monks from the 10-member army. They rode the Qin family's large transport ship and drove straight towards Lingbei Island. Inside the cave of a large transport ship, the temporary market is very lively. Compared with the Dongtian artifact captured by Qin Daoxian from the Jiang family cultivator, the Dongtian of the Qin family's large transport ship is much larger, enough to compare with a small town in the mortal world. It is precisely because of the huge Dongtian world of this large transport ship that it can become the main transport ship for Qinyuan Jianzhong to transport materials for the front line. The Zhangzhou cultivators used it to open up trade between the various governments, and it felt like a little overkill. This kind of large transport ship is more than enough to trade with the Zhongmen family far away in Xianyunzhu, not to mention the interprefecture trade. The volume of each shipment is comparable to all the materials in a small town, and it is conceivable how efficient this transport ship is. In addition to the large cargo volume, this large transport ship is not slow. Although it is not as good as the Spirit Void battleship of the Zhou family, it is not much slower than the Zifu cultivator, who is not good at escaping. Qin Daoxian calculated that if he flew at full speed, the flight speed of this large transport ship is about half of the speed of the Spirit Void battleship. It is very fast. It was nearly 100,000 miles away from Shuanghu Island to the Zhou family's Lingbei Island. At the speed of a large transport ship, they arrived in less than half a day. Inside the ship, Qin Daoxian joined hands with Luo Li, watching the 10 monks of the Blessing generation on the sword-playing field, and devoted themselves to learning swordsmanship. I have to say, although these monks of the Blessing generation are young, they all have a deep understanding of Kendo. Although it can't be compared with Qin Daoxian, they have also crossed the threshold of the second-level tangible realm of Kendo. Among them, including Qin Fuxing, 9 originally realized the sword intent when they were in the Foundation establishment period. There is one more. It was the sword intent that Qin Daoxian realized when he went to Taizhou. That is to say, including Qin Daoxian, the Qin family now has a total of 11 sword cultivators, and they are all sword cultivators from the Purple House. Of course, due to the growth of the essence of vitality, apart from Qin Daoxian and Qin Fuxing, the other sword cultivators in the Purple House seem to be a bit unworthy of their name. The realm of Kendo has only reached the second tangible realm. Not to mention that it is still a long way from the peak of the second realm of form, not to mention the third realm of star transformation. Despite this, the Tao realm of these monks of the Blessing generation is also much stronger than that of the vast majority of the monks of Zifu. In Wangxinghai, the Tao realm of ordinary Zifu monks usually only reaches the first realm of intangibility, and some have not even reached the first realm at all. Those who can reach the second tangible state are considered to be the elites among the cultivators of the Zifu. The best among them can even be on the Zifu Tianjiao list. As for reaching the third stage of star transformation, all of them are at the top of the Zifu Tianjiao list. Not surprisingly, becoming a Jindan cultivator in the future is a sure thing. For example, Zhou Mubai, Qin Daoxian and others are in this state. Although the cultivators of the Qin family have reached the second-level tangible realm of the Great Tao, their cultivation base is still weak, and they are only in the early stage of Zifu. But even so, their strength is still much stronger than that of ordinary late-stage cultivators in Zifu, and they can be regarded as candidates for the Zifu Tianjiao ranking. And Qin Fuxing's strength is even better. After Qin Fuxing broke through the Zifu period, after this period of precipitation, the realm of Kendo has gradually risen to the peak of the second tangible realm. In the realm of Kendo, it is even comparable to Henry Zhongling. However, Qin Fuxing's cultivation base is much lower than that of Henry Zhang, and there is only one floor of Zifu. Therefore, in terms of personal strength, the current Qin Fuxing can barely make it to the Zifu Tianjiao list, probably at the same level as Daoist Huoling. Of course, the evaluation of Qin Fuxing's strength here is based on the premise that they do not wear Tier 3 spirit armor. If you put on the third order power spirit armor, their strength has to go up a notch. For example, Jiang Chenai, the Daozi of the Jiang family, and Zhang Xianling, a monk of the Zhang family in Zhangzhou. In terms of personal strength, the two should be on the same level. However, on the Zifu Tianjiao list, Jiang Qinyes ranking was nearly 20 places higher than that of Henry Zhang, ranking 27th. The reason is that Jiang Chenai owns the Jiang family's high-level spiritual armor, the purple armor, but Henry Zhang does not. Although Henry Zhang's cultivation base and Kendo realm are not inferior to the other party, but the helpless magic weapon is inferior to the other party, and the strength is also a lot worse. You must know that Jiang Chenai, who has a third-tier high-grade spirit armor by his side, is Zhou Mubai himself, and it is not an easy task to take him down. After all, It is not unreasonable that the third-order high-grade spirit armor is called high-grade spirit armor. Even if an ordinary Zifu late-stage cultivator wears it, they can compete with the Tianjiao on the Zifu Tianjiao list, which shows the horror of this high-level spirit armor. If everyone doesn't wear spirit armor, the Tianjiao Zifu on the Zifu Tianjiao list can even kill the ordinary late-stage cultivator of Zifu. When Zhou Mubai was still at the second level of Kendo, he almost killed the Zifu zombie who was good at defense with one sword. It was obvious how big the gap between Tianjiao Zifu and ordinary Zifu cultivators was. But such a big gap can be smoothed out by a small third-order spirit armor. This is also the reason why Qinyuan Jianzong strictly controls high-level spirit armor. If you don't control the refining method of high-level spirit armor, and the raw materials of spirit or for refining high-level spirit armor, the major immortal cultivating families in Wanxinghai can create a group of powerful top-level Zifu monks and even top-level Jindan real people in a very short period of time. In particular, Jindan Jinren who wears the fourth-order spirit armor, other than the Yuanying Jinjuan, other monks of the same rank are very difficult to do. At that time the turmoil in Wanxinghai was only an instant. Fuxing. On the sword field. When Qin Fuxing heard Qin Daoxian calling him, he hurried over and bowed slightly. Young Patriarch. Qin Daoxian said with a smile, during this time your kendo has improved a lot, and the thick earth sword intent has almost reached the peak of the second tangible realm. Talking about the progress of his own kendo, the joy on Qin Fuxing's face flashed away. He cupped his hands and said, to have a blessed life today, it is all thanks to the sermons of the young patriarch. Hearing this, Qin Daoxian smiled and waved his hand, although you have my help, your own kendo talent and diligence are the most important. He paused, the realm of kendo has reached the second peak, and you can already prepare for the creation of your own sword art. When you enter the realm of the third star in the future, and then perfect your sword art, you will almost be able to follow just like Zhou Mubai, he ranks in the top 10 of the Zifu Tianjiao list. Hear this. Even though Qin Fuxing was calm, he still felt a burst of excitement. No one is not well known, especially Qin Fuxing who is a young man. Zhou Mubai's name has been praised by the monks in Sangzhou, and even has a certain reputation in the entire Wanxinghai. It is impossible to say that Qin Fuxing is not envious at all. Seeing his appearance, Qin Daoxian knew what he was thinking and nodded. In the past, the policy I made for the family was to hide or shrink development. But today more than 480 Zifu monks have been born in the family, and it is impossible to hide them. Since I can't hide it, my Qin family simply introduced a representative of the younger generation of the family. Talking. Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Fuxing with earnest eyes. Qin Fuxing was slightly startled. The representative of the family? You mean the young patriarch? I want to push you as the external face of my Qin family. Qin Daoxian looked at each other calmly. Hearing this, Qin Fuxing's heart was beating like thunder and his mouth was dry. Of course, this facade person is not so easy to be, Qin Daoxian said with a smile. My Qin family is now a big family in Zifu, and there is no shortage of cultivators in Zifu. If you want to be the face of my Qin family, you must at least have the strength of the top 10 in the Zifu Tianjiao list, preferably top 3. Qin Daoxian has high requirements for Qin Fuxing. The top 10 of the Zifu Tianjiao list are almost the strength level of Zhou Mubai. As for the top 3, it is the strength level of Qin Daoxian when he was in the real fairyland. To achieve this level is not an easy task for Qin Fuxing. However, it is not as difficult as imagined. Because Qin Fuxing has a third-order high-grade power spirit armor by his side, his defense can even be comparable to that of a fourth-order low-grade spirit armor. Even the current Zhou Mubai could never break Qin Fuxing's defense. In addition to the thick soil sword intent that Qin Fuxing has realized, he is very good at defense, which makes Qin Fuxing's defense methods, among all Zifu cultivators at the top level. On defense alone, Qin Fuxing can definitely rank in the top 3 in the Zifu Tianjiao list. The first and second are Qin Daoxian and Fairy Qi Yao respectively. Qin Daoxian, needless to say, the fourth-order high-grade power spirit armor is close to him, that is, the Jindan cultivator on the Jindan real person list is here, and he is only a disciple. As for Fairy Qi Yao, the fourth-level Dao realm, coupled with the third-level high-grade spirit armor, made her defensive ability surpass the limit of the Zifu cultivator. Even if it is hard to resist the attacks of ordinary Jindan late-stage monks, there is no problem. Apart from the two of them, among all the cultivators in the Purple House, probably only Qin Fuxing had the most terrifying defense. Other top Zifu cultivators, even if they have the third-order high-grade spirit armor in hand, are far inferior to the enhanced version of the third-order high-grade spirit armor in Qin Fuxing's hands. Of course, if Qin Fuxing wanted to be the face of the Qin family, he could not rely on defense alone, and Qin Daoxian couldn't let the outside world think that the Qin family on Jianghu Island was a turtle family, so he knew how to defend blindly. Therefore, Qin Fuxing's attack methods must keep up. Chapter 287. Looking at the excited young man in front of him, Qin Daoxian smiled slightly. Fuxing, pay attention. Qin Fuxing was stunned for a moment, then quickly held his breath. Qin Daoxian stretched out his jade-like right finger and pointed it 3 inches in front of Qin Fuxing's eyebrows. Immediately, a burst of golden light burst out from Qin Daoxian's fingertips and shot towards Qin Fuxing's eyebrows. Qin Fuxing only felt a huge flow of information pouring into the sea of knowledge. Young Patriarch. Qin Fuxing exclaimed. Concentrate. Qin Daoxian frowned and gave a light drink. Qin Fuxing immediately did not dare to speak any more, closed his eyes and concentrated, and went all out to accept the magical power that Qin Daoxian taught him. A long time. The golden light dissipated, Qin Fuxing opened his eyes as if from a lifetime, only to see Qin Daoxian standing in front of him, looking at him with a smile. Qin Fuxing immediately knelt to the ground, first banged his head 3 times in a row, then straightened his back and said, "Thank you, the young patriarch, for preaching. Get up." Qin Daoxian stepped forward and helped the most potential junior cultivator of the Qin family. Fuxing, the supernatural power I taught you, called the 3 heads and 6 arms, is a top-level Dharma image supernatural power. If you want to use the power of this supernatural power, in addition to cultivating the 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma images, you must also master powerful melee skills. You can use external objects such as blood crystals and blood marrow to help you practice the Dharma image, but the melee combat skills have to be learned and experienced by yourself. What I have taught you, in addition to the cultivation method of this supernatural power, is also my own perception of cultivating this supernatural power. You can use it as a reference. Hearing these words, Qin Fuxing kept nodding his head and said solemnly, "Yes, nephew, keep this in mind." Between the two talking, Lingbei Island was already in sight. Qin Daoxian's consciousness swept away and said with a smile, "Let's go, the immortal city of Guang'an Prefecture has arrived." Hear this. Luo Liu on the side tightened her hand slightly and grabbed Qin Daoxian's sleeve. Qin Daoxian knew what she was worried about, so he patted her hand lightly and said, "Relax, I'm here." Hearing this, Luo Li loosened Qin Daoxian's sleeves. Qin Daoxian knew why Luo Li was so nervous. In the early years, the Zhou family had been arresting sharks as slaves, and raising spirit shells for their Zhou family. As a member of the Merman clan, Luo Li naturally hated and feared the Zhou family. Although Qin Daoxian personally came forward and rescued all the Mer people who were imprisoned on Lingbei Island, the Mer people's hatred and fear of the Zhou family remained unchanged. Hundreds of years of arrest and enslavement by the Zhou family, the grievances brought to the Mer people, cannot be eliminated so easily. At this point, Qin Daoxian was also clear in his heart. The grievances between the Mer people and the Zhou family must be completely settled in the future. One is the vassal of the Qin family and the other is the ally of the Qin family. From a personal point of view, Qin Daoxian should stand on the side of the Merman, because Luo Li was already his Taoist companion, so he naturally had to stand on the Taoist side. But compared to the Zhou family, the Mer people are too weak and they are not human. If Qin Daoxian had a bad relationship with the Zhou family for the sake of the Merman and spread it out, the reputation that the Qin family had worked so hard to build would be completely destroyed. If the strength of the Qin family is like the Jiang family and the Ji family, it will overwhelm a state and the reputation will be lost. After all, in the end, in the world, fists have the final say. But the Qin family does not have this strength. Although Qin Daoxian brought back a large amount of vitality essence for his family after the battle of the true immortal origin realm, he created hundreds of Zifu, whose strength is the highest in Sangzhou. But it has not reached the level of completely crushing all the families in Sangzhou. There are so many houses in Sangzhou, and there are many families with more than 10 purple house cultivators in the clan. How can the Qin family really act recklessly? Say it again. This time, although the Qin family benefited the most from the true immortal origin realm group, the other families in Sangzhou also benefited a lot. Although Qin Daoxian manipulated the demons of the Qingqiu demon kingdom to rob them, no one would really be stupid enough to hand over all the essence of vitality. The monks of all ethnic groups who went to the true immortal origin realm last time, as long as they can survive in the end, will have a good harvest. Although it is impossible to be as exaggerated as the Qin family, the overall strength of Cangzhou is bound to skyrocket. The Zhou family, including Zhou Mubai, had about 10 cultivators of the Purple Mansion. After this campaign, dozens of cultivators of the Purple Mansion were born in their family, and Qin Daoxian was not surprised at all. After all, there are many foundation-building cultivators in the Zhou family who entered the real fairyland this time. Unlike the Qin family, there are only two people, Qin Daoxian and Qin Fuxing. The more people sent out, the greater the benefits, which is inevitable. Other families are basically the same. There are a total of 10,000 foundation establishment cultivators in the true immortal origin realm. Although Cangzhou cultivators are not as good as Taizhou and Jingzhou, they still account for more than 2,000 people. Among the more than 2,000 foundation-building cultivators, most of them came from the major immortal clans in Cangzhou, such as the Zhou family, the Jianghu family and other big families. Compared with these families, the Qin family at that time was still too poor in terms of background, and there were simply not enough cultivators in the late foundation-building stage to come out. This is also the reason why the Qin family has only Qin Daoxian and Qin Fuxing to enter the real fairyland. Rumbling, the sound of the large transport ship tearing apart the sky was dull and depressing. But people in Guang'an have long been accustomed to it. The Cangzhou Business Alliance has been operating in these years, and the major immortal cities have long been accustomed to the large transport ships that come and go. It has to be said that people's ability to adapt is really terrifying. Even the mortals outside the immortal city of Guang'an Mansion for a long time would not be surprised by this. Transport ships are moored in dedicated seaports. Qin Daoxian led Qin Fuxing and other clansmen and flew out of the giant ship. Everyone just flew out of the harbor. A large number of Zhou family cultivators lined up in the air to greet them. These Zhou family cultivators have uniform clothes, all embroidered with fire spirit beads and splendid Taoist robes with yin and yang on their backs. In the high sky where the wind is blowing, these Zhou family cultivators are lined up on both sides, with a unique momentum. Congratulations to Patriarch Qin. Congratulations to Patriarch Qin. Congratulations to Patriarch Qin. High in the sky, the singing and harmony of the Zhou family monks echoed in the sky, with a magnificent momentum. In addition to the Zhou family cultivators who welcomed the guests, Zhou Mubai stood in the middle of the queue and looked at Qin Daoxian from a distance. Fellow Daoist Qin, welcome to my Zhou family to observe the ceremony. Fellow Daoist Zhou, your battle is too big, Qin Mao can't bear it. Qin Daoxian immediately led the clan to fly forward, smiled and cupped his hands. The Zhou family made such a big battle, of course Qin Daoxian would not take it too big. Faces are given to each other. Qin Daoxian naturally understands this simple truth. Ha ha. Zhou Mubai smiled freely when he heard the words, Daoyu Qin, you are now my #1 person in Cangzhou, so naturally you have to have this battle, please. Please? Qin Daoxian said with a smile. Along the way, Zhou Mubai frequently looked at Luo Li beside Qin Daoxian. A long time. Zhou Mubai couldn't help but said, this fairy seems to be a little nervous. Although he sensed the faint spirit of evil spirits on Luo Li's body, he still felt a little strange. Arguably. To the level of Luo Li's transformation of the demon race, at least it must be the cultivation base of nascent soul. And Zhou Mubai could clearly perceive that the woman in front of him was just a late-stage cultivator of the Z mansion. He would never feel wrong about this. Moreover, Zhou Mubai faintly felt that the woman in front of him was a little familiar, and he seemed to have seen it somewhere. The monks have a good memory. Zhou Mubai pondered for a moment, and finally remembered where he had seen each other, and his expression changed slightly. Fairy is a mermaid? Exactly. Luo Li suppressed the anger in her heart and said forcefully. Zhou Mubai knew the conflict between himself and the mere people, so he simply smiled bitterly and stopped talking. Qin Daoxian smiled and said, this is my Taoist companion. What? Hearing this, Zhou Mubai suddenly looked at Qin Daoxian, his face full of disbelief. Young Daoist Qin is saying. That's right. Qin Daoxian nodded. Half an hour. Only then did Zhou Mubai regain his senses and cupped his hands. Zhou Mao hereby congratulates Daoyu Qin and Fairy for being of one mind and winning the great way together. Qin Daoxian smiled and cupped his hands. Thank you. Hearing this blessing, Luo Li's tense expression suddenly eased. There was a smile on the bowtie's face, and Zhou Mubai felt that the surrounding scenery was a little more beautiful. This woman is so stunning, no wonder fellow Daoist Qin falls in love with her. Zhou Mubai secretly said. Seeing that the atmosphere on both sides was a little dull, Qin Daoxian took the initiative and said, Brother Zhou, who are the families who came to watch the ceremony this time? Jindan cultivators' tribulation is a rare event. The major immortal clans in Sangzhou basically sent people. In addition, Yuanshan Xianqing and Taizhou Jiang family also sent people. Oh. Chen Daoxian was slightly surprised. He originally thought that the most people who came to watch the tribulation of Zhou Laozu this time were only Zhangzhou cultivators. Although Jindan cultivators are rare to see, their influence is not large enough to attract even cultivators from other states. After all, the distances between the states are long, and maybe by the time the monks from other states rush over after receiving the news, others have already passed the Golden Core Thunder tribulation. Jiang family cultivator and Yuanshan Xianqing both sent people to come. Obviously something is wrong. Chen Daoxian knew that these two forces were quite unfriendly. It is rumored that Jinjuan Yuanshan was forced out of Taizhou by the Jiang family back then, and as a result, Jinjuan Yuanshan was also arrogant and established a fairy city near Taizhou. A posture that the old man will not leave. However, the immortal city established by true monarch Yuanshan actually grew bigger step by step, becoming the largest immortal city in the 3 states. This time, Yuanshan Jinjuan had strength and power, but it really gave the Jiang family some headaches. If you want to clean up an unfounded nascent soul loose cultivator, maybe the Jiang family has some means. But it is not so easy to deal with a true monarch nascent soul who has both strength and foundation. The reason is simple. To deal with a nascent soul loose cultivator, the Jiang family can be tough. A loose cultivator, as long as he is not the elder Qing of Qinyuan Jianzong, even if the Jiang family takes action against him, it can make a lot of waves. But if the Jiang family wanted to deal with Yuanshan Xianqing, the impact would be completely different. If nothing else, Yuanshan Xianqing, as the largest immortal city in the 3 states, pays an astronomical sum of taxes to Qinyuan Jianzong every year. If the Jiang family insists, Qinyuan Jianzong will never sit idly by. At that time, the Qi family of the Yuan-Ing immortal clan that was destroyed in the past will be the example of the Jiang family. Chen Daoxian and Zhou Mubai looked at each other and said through voice transmission, "Brother Zhou, what do you think these 2 families are coming to Zhangzhou at this time?" Heard. Zhou Mubai thought for a while, then shook his head and said, "Brother Chen has been thinking too much. No matter how the various immortal clans in Wangxinghai develop, their sphere of influence must not exceed 1 state. This is an iron law." He paused, with the example of the Qi family in Yuzhou in front. How dare the latecomers dare to take a step forward, and the Qinyuan sword sect is in full swing, do they really dare to rebel? The Qi family in Zhou Mubai's mouth was the Yuanying family that was personally destroyed by the former sect master of Qinyuan Jianzong. The reason is that the Qi family destroyed a small family. Chen Daoxian had forgotten whether this small family that was destroyed was the Qi refining family or the foundation building family. Even compared to the down-and-out Chen family back then, it wasn't much better. It stands to reason that a dignified Yuanying family has wiped out such a small family, and it is not even counted as killing an ant. It is impossible for Qinyuan Jianzong to be on the line like this. But the result shocked all the immortal cultivating families in Wanxinghai. The Qinyuan Jianzong actually wiped out the Qi family because of the power of the sect. It is said that some people from the Qi family escaped back then, and some people said that they did not. This is unknown. But the destruction of the Qi family, the overlord of Yuzhou, was a sure thing. Later, the major immortal clans in Wanxinghai remembered that the Qi family was destroyed not because they destroyed a small family, but because they extended their hands outside Yuzhou. This has obviously surpassed the bottom line of Qinyuan Jianzong. When Qinyuan Jianzong divided the immortal clans in various states, it clearly stipulated that the major immortal clans in this state were not allowed to expand their power to other states. Trade is nothing. But the Qi family went too far, and they used their own strength to directly invade other states by force. The little family that was destroyed was just one of them. It's just that they did it with the attitude of declaring the whole state. This time, the Qinyuan sword sect finally seized the handle and completely destroyed it. It was also this battle that made the other great clans in Wanxinghai fear the Qinyuan sword sect like tigers, and did not dare to take a step forward. Even the Qin family was able to survive when they were weak, and was not coveted by other family forces, and it was also by virtue of the remaining power of this battle. As for the reason why Qinyuan Jianzong restricted the power of the families in various states, it was naturally to maintain its dominance. In the final analysis, cultivators still rely on resources. Spirit veins, spirit stones, magic weapons, medicinal pills, etc., all the resources needed in the practice must be guaranteed by a huge sphere of influence. One state can only support 2 or 3 nascent soul true monarchs at most. For example, the Jiang family almost managed Taizhou like an iron barrel, but it was already the limit to support the 3 nascent Soul True Monarchs and their large clansmen. If you want to give birth to more nascent Soul True Monarchs just relying on one Taizhou, the resources are indeed a bit insufficient. This is also the root cause of the Qi family's invasion of foreign states. From the perspective of Qinyuan Jianzong, as long as the major immortal races are limited to one state, their strength can be limited. Qinyuan Jianzong, on the other hand, relies on the entire Wangxinghai, and even a part of the Ayan Kingdom to support itself, and its strength is much stronger than that of the Xiuxin family in one state. On the one hand, it limits the strength of the big family, and on the other hand, it strengthens its own strength. Since then, the reign of Qinyuan Jianzong has been as stable as Mount Tai. If there is no external forces intervening or Qinyuan Jianzong's own civil strife, this situation is almost impossible to break. Chapter 288. Limba Island. The Zhou family land is above a fourth-order spiritual vein. The peaks stood on the spiritual veins, and there were immortal palaces looming on each peak. Coupled with the vast clouds between the peaks, the entire Zhou family looked like a fairyland. Tongtian Peak is the sphere of influence of the main line of the Zhou family. The family of the Zhou family, including Zhou Mubai, usually lived in the boundary of Tongtian Peak. Although Tongtian Peak is the name of the mountain, the entire Tongtian Peak area covers an extremely wide area, almost 100 miles in diameter, occupying more than half of the entire Zhou family area. At this time, the Yingbin Hall on Tongtian Peak was bustling like never before. In the past, the Zhou family's family land was almost never open to the public, but this time Zhou Mingho, the ancestor of the Zhou family, not only invited Sangzhou cultivators to come to watch the ceremony. Even Taizhou Jiang's family and Yuanqin Xianqing were alarmed, and sent a Jindan real person to come over, which can be said to give the Zhou family enough face. But everyone knows that although the Zhou family is a big family in Sangzhou, it is nothing compared to the 2 major forces of Taizhou Jiang family and Yuanqin Xianqing. Jiang's family and Yuanqin Xianqing's move may have other meanings. But this has nothing to do with the monks who came to watch the ceremony. No matter how strong the Jiang family and Yuanqin Xianqing are, they can't be in chaos in front of everyone's eyes. Inside an ancient fairy palace in the Yingbin Hall, a silver-haired Taoist stood on the cliff, with the immortal and luxurious Asgard behind him, and the cliff in front of him. Looking ahead, it is a sea of clouds and a red sun leaps above it. 7 uncles. A gentle female voice came from behind. The silver-haired old man turned around, looked at the beautiful woman in front of him and said with a smile, "You're here, Xiao Qinyan." Jiang Qinyan was wearing a black gauze, and there was a hint of worry in her charming face. It seemed that Jiang Qinyan was thinking. Jiang Zui said warmly, "Qinyan, how long have you been practicing in the family?" Reporting to the 7th uncle, Qinyan has been practicing for more than 60 years. It took more than 60 years to break through the Purple Mansion, and luck is really good. Jiang Qinyan knew what Jiang Qingyi meant, and said with a gloomy expression, "Qinyan can have today, all depends on family cultivation." Yes, Jiang Zhu nodded. Without the Jiang family, how could our Jiang family be today? Look at the monks who come and go in the Zhou family this week. Which one does not show a gesture of bowing his head when he sees our Jiang family? Why? It's not that he is afraid of the power of my Jiang family. As soon as Jiang Zhu said this, the conversation changed. So, every member of our Jiang family has the obligation to dedicate himself to the family, whether it's you or me, do you understand? Jiang Qinyan lowered her head. Qinyan understands. Good boy, Jiang Zui nodded with satisfaction. Adjust your mentality and in a few days I will take you to meet your future husband. Yes. Jiang Zhu waved his hand, watched Jiang Qinyan slowly retreat and said to the air on the side, "Qinyi, do you think that 7th uncle's trip is a little underwhelming?" Next moment, Jiang Qinye's figure was instantly exposed in front of Jiang Zui, and he said in fear, "Why did the 7th uncle say this?" Qinyi never meant it. Don't say anything against your heart, don't say you think it's inferior, even I think it's very despicable. Jiang Chenai lowered his head and said nothing. But Sangzhou is too important to my Jiang family, and there is absolutely no room for mistakes. Otherwise my Jiang family may be wiped out. Qinyi understands. No, you don't understand. Jiang Zui smiled and said, "However, if you don't understand you have to implement it, understand?" Jiang Chenai was stunned for a moment, then nodded seriously. Only then did Jiang Zui show satisfaction. He glanced at the direction of old ancestor Zhou's retreat, and the pressure belonging to the Jindan cultivator was getting stronger and stronger. Even if he was separated by dozens of miles, he could faintly feel this momentum. The mountains and forests where spirit beasts and birds played in the past were silent now, without the slightest sound. Zhou Mingho succeeded. Jiang Zhu smiled lightly. Jiang Chenai seemed a little unbelievable. He looked at his seventh uncle in shock. Zhou Mingho actually succeeded in forming an elixir? Then he is not a cultivator of Jindan. How can it be so simple? Jiang Zui shook his head. The cultivator of the Zifu has broken through to the golden core stage, and the formation of the alchemy is only the first threshold, and this threshold is difficult for ordinary late-stage Zifu cultivators. But it is not too difficult for the Zifu cultivator who has reached the second realm of the Tao, especially with the help of Jie Jindan. For the Zifu cultivator in the second realm, the real difficulty lies in the golden core thunder tribulation after the formation of the pill. Usually we call such monks who have not survived the golden core thunder tribulation as fake Dan monks. Do you know why? Jiang Chenai shook his head. This kind of secret, even if he is the Daozi of the Jiang family, he has never heard of it. After all, this is just a private statement between the Jindan cultivators. He is a junior in the Purple Mansion, so how can he know? Jiang Zui seemed to be in a good mood. He explained with a smile. The so-called fake alchemy cultivator is the state that has not been baptized by lightning after forming alchemy. Strictly speaking, this kind of cultivator has already condensed the golden core, but because it has not been baptized by lightning, the body, especially the soul, has not undergone the final transformation, so it is still fundamentally different from the golden core cultivator. This difference is not reflected in strength. There is not much difference between some fake Dan cultivators and Jindan cultivators after the baptism of Leijia. But the future of the two is very different. Seeing Jiang Qinyes' relished appearance, Jiang Zui continued, "You should know that there are 3 levels of golden core thunder tribulation. The first is the calamity of the body, the second is the calamity of mana, and the third is the robbery of the soul." When it comes to the third level of thunder calamity, Jiang Zui's tone is extraordinarily serious, even if so many years have passed. The third level divine soul tribulation in the golden core thunder tribulation still left a great psychological shadow on him. There are many cultivators in Zifu who choose to practice a secret technique that conceals the secrets before conjuring pills. The only function of this secret technique is to make thunder tribulation unable to sense that the monks have conjured pills. In this way, the thunder tribulation will naturally not descend. Anything like this? Jiang Qinyes' eyes lit up when he heard this. "Oh, good thing?" Jiang Zui sneered. "It's just a means to deceive yourself. Due to the fact that they have not crossed the calamity of the soul, although the strength of the fake alchemy cultivator is not much different from that of the golden alchemy cultivator after the calamity, the lifespan of the two is very different. The lifespan of a fake Dan cultivator is at most less than 100 years longer than that of a Zifu cultivator. 600 years of lifespan is the limit of a fake Dan cultivator. And because the body, mana, and soul have not undergone the last transformation, the path of the fake pill cultivator has been exhausted, and there will be no progress in the future." Hear this. Jiang Qinyes' heart trembled slightly, and suddenly he stopped thinking about fake pills. Not only that. Jiang Zui smiled and said, "Because the fake pill cultivators are trying to hide the sky and the sea by cultivating secret methods to cover up the secrets of the sky, they will never dare to explode their full strength in fighting against others so as not to lead to the golden core thunder tribulation. Therefore, in the world of immortality, there are often jokes about fake Dan cultivators being beheaded by cultivators of Zifu across the border." Seventh uncle, what do you think Zhou Mingho will choose this time? Jiang Zui pondered for a moment. Zhou Mingho dared to invite Sangzhou cultivators to come to watch the ceremony. He must have the heart to break the cauldron and sink the boat, so I guess he will not use tricks, but choose to cross the golden pill thunder calamity. The voice just fell. Above the main peak of Tongtian Peak, the sky darkened. Within 100 miles, all the sunlight was blocked by dark thunder clouds. "Come on, let's go and see." "Okay." Jiang Chenai nodded excitedly. This is the first time he has seen someone cross the golden core thunder tribulation. In addition to the two of them in the welcoming hall, a large group of monks flew towards the main peak of Tongtian Peak. One after another, escaping light is like a streamer, flickering under the pitch-black sky. Qin Daoxian, Zhou Mubai and others were on their way. Sudden. A terrifying heavenly might erupted in the direction of the Zhou family. Although the cultivators present were all in the Zifu period, they were still frightened by this terrifying power. Not good. The patriarch is about to cross the robbery. Zhou Mubai didn't expect that just by his effort to meet Qin Daoxian, Zhou Laozu would be robbed. Brother Zhou, go. Okay. Zhou Mubai's face was heavy. Everyone immediately raised the escape light to the limit, and after less than half a cup of tea, they rushed to the Zhou family place. Now, around Tongtian Peak, hundreds of monks were already standing in the sky, looking at the main peak of Tongtian Peak from a distance. The monks present were all monks from the Purple House, and the two standing in the front were two Jindan real people. Logically speaking, Zhou Laozu crossed the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation. There is no reason for the Golden Core real person to come to watch the ceremony. After all, watching the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation is of no use to the real Golden Core. High in the air, Jiang Zui stood side by side with the Jindan real person in Yuanqin Xianqing. Jiang Zui sneered slightly, "Fellow Daoist Qi, you brought these juniors to watch the ceremony. Isn't Yuanqin Xianqing without Jindan cultivators?" "Humph, don't bother Daoist Jiang, my Yuanqin immortal city is not only guarded by the 7 great gods, but also has a tutor personally in charge. I don't believe that any Xiao dares to offend. On the other hand, fellow Daoist Jiang, I heard that your Jiang family not only gained nothing in the true immortal origin realm last time, but in the end they couldn't even afford the Avenue Stone tablet. What, is your Jiang family very short of money? Do you need me to lend you some from Yuanqin Xianqing?" The Jindan cultivator who spoke was named Qi Guangxiao, who was the only Jindan disciple of true monarch Yuanqin. The 7 great generals in his mouth are the 7 Jindan scattered cultivators recruited by Yuanqin Jinjuan at a high cost, but these Jindan scattered cultivators are only responsible for guarding Yuanqin Xianqing. As for other adventurous matters, these Jindan loose cultivators may not necessarily obey orders. Who knows? When Jiang Zhu heard that Qi Guangxiao wanted to lend them money, not only was he not angry but he smiled and said, "Are you Yuanqin Xianqing really willing to lend money to my Jiang family?" Heard. Qi Guangxiao's expression froze. He did not expect that the 7th elder of the Jiang family, a dignified late Jindan cultivator, would be so shameless to do such a thing on a stick. Humph. Qi Guangxiao had a dark face and turned his head away, not wanting to talk to him. Seeing his airbag appearance, Jiang Zhu suddenly laughed. Although Yuanqin Xianqing has a grudge against the Jiang family, it is not a serious problem for the Jiang family's confidants. After all, there is only one immortal city in Yuanqin Xianqing, and its sphere of influence is only the boundary between the 3 states, and it is not even a single prefecture. The prosperity of Yuanqin Immortal City is based on the dividends brought by the tens of millions of scattered cultivators. Without these loose cultivators, Yuanqin Xianqing would be nothing. Loose cultivators are a group of people who see the wind and steer the rudder, and they are the most unreliable group in the cultivator world. This is Jiang Laozu's original words, and Jiang Zui also agrees. In the immortal world, there is no top-level force. It is completely composed of loose cultivators. Because loose cultivators are, in the final analysis, a group of people who come when they are good and leave when they don't. It is simply impossible for you to expect this group of people to sacrifice their lives for each other. Yuanqin Immortal City seems to be huge, with a population of tens of millions of loose cultivators, but with so many scattered cultivators, how many people dare to say that they and Yuanqin Immortal City coexist? I'm afraid not even 1 in 1,000. This is also the reason why the number of loose cultivators is obviously the largest in the cultivation world, but it is the least favorable. Qi Guangxiao was choked by Jiang Zhu, and when he felt that his heart was not going well, he saw more than a dozen escaping lights flying towards him. Taking a closer look, I found that Zhou Mubai and Qin Daoxian were taking the lead. Qi Guangxiao immediately led the people from Yuanqin Xianqing to greet him. The last time Yuanqin Xianqing cooperated with Zhangzhou cultivator in true immortal origin realm, Zhou Mubai also accepted the high-priced employment of Yuanqin Jinjuan. Even if Jinjuan Yuanqin took a look at Qin Daoxian, he still spent 120 drops of the power of good fortune to buy a stone tablet after he left the real fairyland. Therefore, the relationship between the two parties is good. Qi Guangxiao, Qin Daoxian reluctantly met the other party several times during his recent trip to Taizhou. It's just that he had been standing behind true monarch Yuanqin back then, and he didn't say much to everyone. Fellow Daoist Zhou and fellow Daoist Qin, stay safe both of you. When Qi Guangxiao saw Qin Daoxian and the two, he quickly greeted them warmly. Senior Qi is very polite. Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai bowed to Qi Guangxiao. Jiang Zhu, who was on the side, saw that the two sides were familiar with each other, but he didn't mean to come forward to say hello at all, and he behaved very coldly. But Qin Daoxian and Zhou Mubai couldn't be rude when such a late Jindan cultivator was in front of them. they bowed their hands to Jiangzu, Jiang Zhenren. Jiang Zui smiled gently at the two of them. To be honest, Qin Daoxuan's impression of Jiang Zui is a little better based on his personal first impression. Because the other party's sense of proportion is very good, neither treats coldly by virtue of his cultivation, nor does he appear overly eager. Compare. This real qi is much worse in this regard. However, Qin Daoxian can also understand that this qi Guangxiao has been in the loose cultivation all the year round, and he has a more reckless habit than the children of the family. Qin Daoxian had a vague guess in his heart about the two suddenly coming to Cangzhou. Or, he at least affirmed the Jiang family's idea. Because when he was outside the real fairyland, the elder of the Jiang family once threw an olive branch to him, but Qin Daoxian refused. The Qin family formed an alliance with the Jiang family and could only become a vassal. Moreover, Qin Daoxian felt that the Jiang family had great ambitions. The surface is to form an alliance with the Qin family, but in fact it is plotting Cangzhou. In fact, the ambition is big, but Qin Daoxian thinks it's nothing because his ambition may be even greater. Qin Daoxian wants to become immortal. In this world of immortal cultivation, where no one has been robbed for hundreds of thousands of years, this kind of ambition can be said to break through the sky. With the current resources of this world, if you want to support a Mahayana true immortal, you might have to use the power of the whole world to do it. Chapter 289. Coming. Qin Daoxian raised his head and looked at the black thundercloud dozens of miles away. Vaguely. A young Taoist man with silver hair and white clothes, standing alone under the thundercloud, looked particularly abrupt. This person is Zhou Mingho, the ancestor of the Zhou family. Finally, after a period of brewing, the thundercloud pierced through the air and formed a terrifying pillar of thunder, covering Zhou Mingho's body. Too horrible. Beside Qin Daoxian, a look of fear appeared on Luo Likio's face. Qin Daoxian explained softly, there are 3 levels of Jindan thunder tribulation, and this is only the first layer of physical calamity. Usually, a cultivator's body refinement reaches the peak derived from flesh and blood, and he can withstand it, and he will also be quenched in this heavy thunder tribulation. Refinement is enhanced. It is for this reason that many Jindan cultivators have broken through to the state of being reborn from a broken skull after experiencing the thunder calamity. He paused. Compared to the calamity of the body, the next calamity of mana, especially the calamity of the soul, is the most terrifying. When the monks reach the golden core stage, they must condense into a golden core in the purple mansion. And the soul will be further cultivated in this golden pill, waiting for the moment when the pill is broken into a baby. But before that, divine soul needs to go through the last heavy golden core thunder tribulation in order to grasp the vitality of turning into nascent soul. The golden core thunder tribulation is both a catastrophe and an opportunity. Although Qin Daoxian was explaining the way of cultivation to Luo Li and the cultivators of the Qin family, everyone around him heard it, including Jiang Zui and Qi Guangxiao. Jiang Zui sincerely praised, Qin Daoyu deserves to have the strength of the top 3 in the Zifu Tianjiao list, and he has a very thorough understanding of the way of Jindan cultivation. Jiang Zhenjin is wrong. Qin Daoxian bowed his hands slightly. Jiang Zui smiled and said, Qin Daoyu just said that the golden core thunder tribulation is both catastrophe and vitality, but he has a profound understanding of thunder tribulation. Many cultivators of Zifu are terrified of the golden core thunder tribulation, but they don't know that without this golden core thunder tribulation, without igniting the vitality of the soul in the golden core, it is almost impossible to go further in the future. All around, everyone silently savored the words of the two. Some people frowned and thought, while others looked like they had gained something. A long time. When everyone figured out the key, they bowed their hands to Qin Daoxian and Jiang Zhu. Thank you Qin Daoxian and Jiang Zhenren for your advice. Qin Daoxian bowed his hands towards everyone in return. Jiang Zui stood with his hands behind his back with a faint smile on his face. It's just that he is the real person of Jindan, and his cultivation is a great realm higher than that of almost everyone present. Everyone is quite used to his expression. While the two were talking, Zhou Mingho, who was bathed in thunder, had already passed the first calamity of his body. Under the thunder cloud, Zhou Mingho, who was originally dressed in white and brocade robe, now looks like a beggar. Zhou Mingho's body refinement is the peak derived from flesh and blood, and it is at the same level as Qin Daoxian. It does not surprise Qin Daoxian to survive this calamity. Immediately after, the second thunder came one after another. It's just that the thunder this time is invisible and colorless, just the slightly distorted space, indicating the horror of this mana catastrophe. This time, Qin Daoxian clearly saw that Zhou Mingho's whole body was shaking violently, and his figure standing in the air was shaky. Aside, Zhou Mubai was so nervous that he was breathing quickly. Zhou Mingho has been cultivating for hundreds of years, but the realm of the Great Tao is still only the second peak, and has not broken through to the third. Forcibly breaking through Jindan, the risk is not small. At this time, for him, life and death are divided, which is really worrying. But fortunately, Zhou Mingho's condition was not bad. After shaking violently for a while, the momentum of the whole person rose steadily, and reached its peak after a few breaths. Pass. Zhou Mubai clenched his fist tightly. There's still one last calamity of the soul. At this moment, Zhou Mubai became nervous as never before. He has practiced for nearly 100 years. Zhou Mingho is also a teacher and a friend to him, and the two have long forged a deep relationship. Zhou Mubai naturally didn't want him to fail the calamity. Although from a dark point of view, if Zhou Mingho fails to survive the calamity, Zhou Mubai can instantly grasp the greatest power in the family. But he still didn't want Zhou Mingho to fail the tribulation. Just as Qin Daoxian would not just watch Qin Xinhe die because of his family power. They say monks are ruthless. In fact, the cultivator just went through a long period of practice and witnessed the death of too many relatives and friends, making them emotionally indifferent. In fact, in terms of emotions, there is not much difference between practitioners and ordinary people, and they also have emotions. The biggest difference between monks and mortals is that great power is attributed to themselves. In fact, they are not worried about losing power because as long as they have power they will always hold power. A nascent soul true monarch, no matter how downhearted, is not something that a Zifu cultivator can ignore. Because Yuan Ing Jinjuan could easily crush him like an ant. Sky. After Lei Yun dropped 2 thunderbolts in a row, the third thunder calamity had been brewing for an extraordinarily long time. So much so that everyone present held their breath. Finally, a black thunder struck straight down. This time. After all, Zhou Mingho did not block it, and was directly penetrated to the ground by the black thunder pillar. Everyone went up to the sky and looked down. A bottomless circular pothole appeared on a mountain peak. Around the pothole, there were faint crystals that melted at high temperature. The triple thunder robbery passed. The thunder cloud dissipated immediately, and the sun shone on the earth again. It was only then that everyone noticed that the mountain where Zhou Mingho crossed the tribulation was cut off by dozens of feet out of thin air. See this scene. Most of the Zifu cultivators present had a heavy heart. When the cultivation has reached the Zifu period, which cultivator dares to say that he has no idea about breaking through the Jindan period? But seeing this terrifying golden core thunder tribulation, everyone's confidence in overcoming the calamity was hit. Patriarch. The thunder cloud dissipated, and Zhou Mubai was the first to charge towards the deep pit on the mountain. He could feel a faint breath in the deep pit. If it is not wrong, it is the breath of the Patriarch. I didn't expect that Senior Zhou Mingho actually succeeded. Qin Daoxian murmured, let's go too. Lori nodded. Qin Fuxing and the others followed closely behind, flying towards the mountain where Zhou Mingho had crossed the calamity. The rest of the Zifu monks followed suit. Jianghu and Qi Guangxiao looked at each other and flew over. A long time. With the support of Zhou Mubai, a figure slowly flew out of a deep pit. It was Zhou Mingho who had successfully survived the calamity. It's just that Zhou Mingho's condition is not good at the moment. Although the last calamity of the soul has been passed, it has also caused his soul to suffer serious injuries. It takes a while to fully recover. Congratulations to Senior Zhou for successfully transcending the calamity and attaining the fruit of the real Tao. Congratulations Senior Zhou. Congratulations. Sangzhou cultivators stepped forward to congratulate Zhou Mingho. Zhou Mingho forcibly endured the severe pain in his soul, and returned the salute to everyone with a smile. He did not feel arrogant because he succeeded in transcending the calamity and became a new Jindan real person. Fellow Taoist Zhou, congratulations. Jianghu also bowed to Zhou Mingho at this time. Qi Guangxiao on the side was not to be outdone, and quickly surrendered to Zhou Mingho. Zhou Mingho also politely smiled and said, Zhou Mao is not able to meet the two seniors in person, and I hope to forgive him. Where? Qi Guangxiao waved his hand and laughed, young Taoist Zhou is too polite. Yes, Jianghu smiled and said, since Daoyu Zhou succeeded in transcending the calamity, he will be a fellow person from now on. There is no need for seniors to say just use the name of Daoyu. Then, Daoyu Jiang Daoyu Qi Zhou Mao greeted the two of you. Ha ha ha. Fellow Taoist. Everyone cheered and cheered. At this moment, the Zhou family's momentum in Cangzhou had undoubtedly reached its peak. After all, this is the first Jindan cultivator from Cangzhou. Although Zhou Mingho's strength at the moment is not necessarily as strong as Zhou Mubai's, but for Cangzhou scattered cultivators, Jindan cultivator speaks out, no matter how louder than Zhou Mubai's reputation as a Zifu cultivator. Even Zhou Mubai is the arrogant Zifu on the Zifu Tianjiao list. After Zhou Mingho greeted everyone, he immediately cupped his hands and said, although Zhou has survived the Golden Core Thunder tribulation, he still suffers from serious injuries and needs to retreat for a period of time. Please also ask Zhou to be unable to take care of you. Where is Senior Zhou? It should be. The cultivators waved their hands one after another as if they understood. Seeing this, Zhou Mingho nodded towards Zhou Mubai and flew towards another mountain peak of Tongtian Peak. Zhou Mingho stretched out his hand to invite everyone. Everyone, my Zhou family has prepared a banquet for you, and I would like to invite all of you to take a ride and appreciate the light. Good talk. Brother Zhou, you're welcome. Say it. The crowd followed Zhou Mubai and flew towards the welcoming hall of Tongtian Peak. Really? Only Zhou Mingho's kung fu to overcome tribulation. The Zhou family had already arranged a banquet in the welcoming hall, and once Zhou Mingho succeeded in transcending the calamity, they would immediately hold a banquet to celebrate. Although this operation of the Zhou family is risky, the effect has undoubtedly reached its peak. Banquet room. Everyone gave the Zhou family a thumbs up and praised him as the #1 clan in Cangzhou. Although Zhou Mubai did not dare to say anything, the smile in his eyes could hardly be concealed. This moment, he couldn't help but feel grateful for the patriarch's adventure. Although Zhou Mingho succeeded in transcending the calamity, inviting the Cangzhou channel would also increase the influence of the Zhou family. But what is more than the shock of crossing the robbery in front of so many Zifu cultivators in Cangzhou? If not, no one would agree with the Zhou family so much. Zhou Mingho succeeded in transcending the calamity, and the strength of the Zhou family greatly increased. And the prestige of the family is accumulated bit by bit like this. If it is said that Qin Daoxian turned the tide in Cangzhou Xianqing at the beginning, it was a wave of prestige for the Qin family. This time Zhou Mingho crossed the calamity in public, and he also gained a wave of prestige for the Zhou family. Whether it is for the Zhou family or the Qin family. To become the #1 clan in Cangzhou, although strength is fundamental, unless the Qin and Zhou families have absolute strength like the Jiang family and the Ji family, the role of prestige cannot be ignored. The Yi family in Cangzhou is a typical example of this. In terms of strength, the Yi family was no worse than the Zhou family at this time, but each family in Cangzhou sold the Yi family a little bit of face. After some noise, the banquet was dispersed. The cultivators rushed back to the residence of the Yingbin Hall to rest, preparing to resign to the Zhou family on another day. Just when the Qin family members just returned to the residence of Lingfu, 3 escaped lights flew towards the Lingfu where the Qin family lived. These 3 escapes were careless and did not cover up in the slightest. They were the 7th elder of the Jiang family, Jiang Zui, and the 2 cultivators of the Jiang family, Jiang Qinyan and Jiang Chenai. Friend Qin. Outside the Lingfu, Jiang Zhu once bowed to Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian froze in the air, turned around and said, I don't know if Jiang Jinjin is here, what's the matter? Jiang Zui smiled and glanced at Lingfu but said nothing. Indulge for a moment. Qin Daoxian said, it's rude, Jiang Jinren, please. Jiang Zui smiled and nodded. Entering the Lingfu and telling everyone to retreat, Qin Daoxian met the 3 Jiang family alone. He dared to meet the 3 Jiang family alone. Apart from the fact that this is the Zhou family land and the outside world is full of Cangzhou cultivators, there is another reason, that is, Qin Daoxian is bold. With the 4th order high-grade power spirit armor by his side, Qin Daoxian is now feeling overwhelmed with security. A mere cultivator in the late stage of Jindan, he was confident that the other party could not even break the defense of his spiritual armor. But Jiang Zui didn't know this. He saw that Qin Daoxian was only at the 9th floor of Zifu, so he dared to see him alone, and he also admired Qin Daoxian's courage. Let me introduce you to fellow Daoist Qin. This is my Daozi from the Jiang family, Jiang Chenai. You have already met in the true immortal origin realm. This is the arrogant daughter of my Jiang family, Jiang Qinyan. Qin Daoxian nodded towards the 2 of them. Jiang Jinren, if you have something to say, you may speak bluntly. Jiang Zhu nodded. Okay, Daoyu Qin speaks quickly. He paused. My Jiang family wants to marry the Qin family and form an alliance of attacking and defending together. Really? Qin Daoxian secretly said in his heart. But he said, the Jiang family is very powerful. I have a Zifu family in the Qin family district. How can he be an ally with your Jiang family? Friend Qin, you can't say that. Jiang Zui smiled and said, although your Qin family is not as strong as my Jiang family, you are definitely a newcomer in Sangzhou. In the future, it will only take time to become the #1 family in Sangzhou. Is it true that Jiang Jinren remembered wrongly? The largest clan in Sangzhou should be the Zhou clan of the newly promoted Jindan clan. What does it have to do with my Qin clan? Hehe, what is the truth? I think fellow Daoist Qin knows it better than me. Jiang Zhu said, for this marriage my Jiang family is very sincere and it depends on how Dao Yu Qin chooses. Talking. In front of Qin Daoxian, Jiang Zui took out a purple glowing third-order high-grade spirit armor from the storage bag Zine armor. Seeing this third-order spirit armor, Qin Daoxuan's expression did not change at all. Just when he felt that the Jiang family was stingy, Jiang Zui took out a piece of jade slip and threw it over gently. Qin Daoxian took the jade slip, his consciousness swept away, and his complexion changed drastically. The third-order spirit armor refining method. Exactly. Jiang Zui smiled and said, how about this thing as a gift for the alliance between my two families? With that said, Jiang Zhu glanced at Jiang Qinyan. Jiang Qinyan understood, moved the lotus step lightly, took a step forward, and after a blessing said softly and weakly, could it be that Qin Gongzi dislikes the appearance of the slave family Pu Lu? At this moment, the benefits that Mei Sei and any Zifu family could not refuse were placed in front of Qin Daoxian. Chapter 290? Facing Jiang Shenyan's scratching, Qin Daoxian didn't even lift his eyelids. On the contrary, the refining method of the third-order high-grade spiritual armor, the purpline armor, made Qin Daoxuan's heart move for a moment. But it was only a moment. Qin Daoxian reacted instantly, this is a poisonous bait. Not to mention that the Qin family already has the second-order power spirit armor refining method, and the demand for third-order spirit armor is not so strong for the time being. Even if the Qin family obtained the refining method of Zine armor, almost all of them were controlled by the Qinyuan sword sect and the Yuanying clan due to the mining rights of the Zine spirit mine. With the methods of the Jiang family, if the Qin family wanted to refine the purple armor, they had to be controlled by their Jiang family. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian once again firmed up his original thoughts. Seeing that Qin Daoxian was still indifferent, Jiang Zhu said calmly, Dao Yu Qin should have heard about the Qi family in Yuzhou, right? I heard something. Qin Daoxian thought for a while and nodded. The Qi family in Yuzhou, like my Jiang family, used to be the Yuanying family of Wanxinghai, but just because they sought greater development and interests, they were beaten by the Qinyuan sword sect. How unfair. Jiang Zui said indifferently, Dao Yu Qin has an amazing talent. In less than 30 years of cultivation, you have reached the 9th level of Zifu. With your talent, it is very likely that you will become a nascent soul monk in the future. I take the liberty to ask Dao Yu Qin, do you want to stop at the nascent soul stage in the future? Hearing this, Dao Yu Qin frowned slightly. Jiang Zui's remarks can be said to be quite explicit, and he almost didn't engrave the words rebellion on his forehead. What happened to the Qi family, the scattered cultivators and the small family may not know much, but the immortal cultivators of Wanxinghai know it well. The Qi family violated the rules set by Qinyuan Jianzong, and they had long been unwilling to serve, otherwise Qinyuan Jianzong would not waste such great efforts to destroy the Qi family. And now, the Jiang family and the Qi family are doing the same thing, so to speak. Dao Yu Qin was slightly shocked. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's complexion changing slightly, Jiang Zui thought that his persuasion was effective, and quickly hit the railway while it was hot. But you don't have to worry about Qin Daoyu. The disaster of the Qi family seems to be Qinyuan Jianzong's stabilization of his own rule on the surface. But it has lost the hearts and minds of all the Yuanying family. He whispered, one Yuanying family may not be able to shake the dominance of Qinyuan Jianzong, how about 10? Oh, since your Jiang family has so many allies, why bother holding on to my little Qin family? You. As soon as Jiang Zhu saw Qin Daoxuan's appearance of not soaking in oil and salt, he sighed, got up and said, tomorrow the old man will leave the Zhou family. If you change your mind you can come to the old man at any time. After that he turned to Jiang Chenai and said, let's go. No delivery. Watching the Jiang family leave Lingfu, Qin Daoxian rubbed his head with a headache. Recently these things have been rushing in wave after wave, and Dao Yu Qin didn't even have the chance to take some time to settle down. You must know that in addition to developing the family, There is an important inheritance waiting for him in Wanxinghai. In the last Wanxinghai inheritance trial, Qin Daoxian received the call of Qinyuan sword sect just halfway through, but had no choice but to give up the trial temporarily. After the battle of the true immortal origin realm was over, the Zhangzhou cultivators were waiting to recover Zhenangwen, but before they could recover Zhenangwen, the Taizhou Jiang family set their sights on the weak Zhangzhou again. It's not over, Dao Yuqin said helplessly. The next day, the cultivators of all parties have always said goodbye to the Zhou family, and the cultivators of the Qin family are on the list. Looking at Zhou Mubai and others who saw them off in front of them, Dao Yuqin deliberately glanced in the direction of the Yingbin Hall. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's eyes, Zhou Mubai was thoughtful. Have they come to find you too? Dao Yuqin is straight to the point. Could it be that the Jiang family also came to find you? Zhou Mubai was startled and immediately smiled. Yes, with your talent, Brother Qin, there is no reason not to be favored by the Jiang family. I'm curious, what's the price they paid you for? Zhou Mubai smiled and said, 10 pieces of third-order high-grade good fortune spirit armor. Hear this. Dao Yuqin shook his head and said, I thought that the Jiang family was stingy enough to recruit my Qin family, but I didn't expect them to recruit Brother Zhou and you to be more stingy. Oh. Hearing this, Zhou Mubai also became interested. What price did they pay? The third-order high-grade spirit armor, the refining method of Zine armor. Hearing this, Zhou Mubai's heart trembled violently, and he said in a trembling voice, You actually refused? Qin Daoxian nodded. I think Zhangzhou, after all, is my Zhangzhou cultivators. Zhangzhou, what does Brother Zhou think? Zhou Mubai took a deep look at Qin Daoxian. Zhangzhou, such a Zhangzhou cultivator, Zhou deeply agrees. Ha ha, fellow Daoist. Qin bowed his hands. Brother Zhou, farewell. Please. Southwest waters of Wanxinghai. A large transport ship quickly headed toward Shuanghu Island. It is the Qin family's large spirit ship. In Lingjian Cave on the sword field, Qin Daoxian was pointing out Qin Fuxing's melee skills. Slow, too slow. Qin Daoxian shot Qin Fuxing, who was wearing the third-order spirit armor, into the air with a random sword. He shook his head and said, Melee combat is different from Yujian's long-range attack. You have to follow your heart with your sword, and your heart will come to your sword. Think carefully about how you feel when you use your sword. Yes. Qin Fuxing got up from the other end of the sword field and nodded. Boom. Qin Fuxing was knocked into the air again. Boom. Boom. As Qin Fuxing was ravaged time and time again, his melee skills were improving visibly. There are tens of thousands of monks in the Qin family, and Qin Fuxing can stand out from so many monks, not entirely relying on Qin Daoxuan's preaching. In fact, Qin Fuxing himself is very talented. This Qin Daoxian knew when he first discovered his kendo seedling. What is even more commendable is that Qin Fuxing knew the truth of not being arrogant or impetuous and practicing hard at a young age. Spiritual roots, comprehension and other talents are important, but as Qin Daoxuan's cultivation level deepens, he finds that Dao Xin is equally important, and even more important sometimes. Boom. With a random sword, Qin Fuxing flew out again. Fortunately, there is a third-order spirit armor body. Even if Qin Daoxian didn't spare much effort in this sword, Qin Fuxing just felt that his chest was hit hard, and it was not a big problem. Just when Qin Daoxian wanted to continue teaching, he suddenly stopped. You practice on your own, it'll go out. With that said, he flew out of the Lingjian cave. Qin Fuxing immediately felt bad and immediately followed behind Qin Daoxian and flew out together. Dao Yuqin stared. What are you doing here? Qin Fuxing pursed his lips and said nothing. Outside the spirit ship, a cyan-colored, slender spirit boat lay in front of the Qin family's large spirit boat. On the blue spirit boat, a silver-haired old man flew out slowly. Seeing the person in front of him, Qin Daoxuan's heart gradually sank. Fellow Daoist Qin, how are you thinking about it? Qin Daoxian narrowed his eyes slightly. What? I didn't promise you the Jiang family and you, Jiang Jinren, still want to bully the younger. Can't you force me to promise? Jiang Zui shook his head. The old man is not very satisfied with this answer. Please think about it again. Chapter 291, High in the Air. Qin Daoxian and Jiang Zhu looked at each other across the air, and an invisible momentum stirred between them. Gudong. Aside, Qin Fuxing was oppressed by this terrifying momentum and swallowed his saliva unconsciously. Qin Daoxian sneered, How Shofu, dare to try Zhangzhou? Hearing this, Jiang Zhu's face trembled slightly and raised his head. Is this your answer? Qin Daoxian spoke again, opened his mouth and spit. Feishua Qinging, 2 swords spurted out, and then white light flashed, and the whole body was wrapped in cyan spirit armor. 4th level high-grade spirit armor. Jiang Zui's pupils condensed slightly. Is this your confidence in resisting this old man? However, Qin Daoxian had no interest in nonsense at all, and immediately joined his sword and flickered towards Jiang Zui. Okay, so fast. Qin Fuxing in the back was stunned when he saw this scene. During this time, Qin Daoxian has been instructing him in melee combat skills, but he has not been able to master the skills of swords and skills in melee combat. In this way, even if his body refinement has reached the realm of derivation from flesh and blood, his strength in close combat is not as good as that of the long-range Yujin. But close combat skills are the key to exerting the supernatural power of 3 heads and 6 arms, and Qin Fuxing had to learn it. Originally, he thought that being able to read the sword in melee combat was already a very high level of melee combat, but when he saw Qin Daoxian's melee skills, he realized that reading the sword was probably just an introduction to melee skills. Front. When Jiang Zu saw Qin Daoxian coming with his sword, he immediately sneered in his heart. Melee combat. You probably don't know that a cultivator can only have the confidence to melee combat when he reaches the golden core stage. Thoughts flashed in his heart. Jiang Zui's movements were not slow. He slapped the storage bag at his waist, and the 4th order high-grade flying sword that also glowed with aura only slammed into Qin Daoxian's face. Although his melee combat strength is not weak, he still did not choose to melee Qin Daoxian, but cautiously chose Yu Jian to attack. After all, his cultivation base and the realm of the avenue are all above Qin Daoxian. Since he can be crushed dignifiedly, there is no need to entangle with Qin Daoxian in melee combat. However, clang. Jiang Zui's flying sword was directly hit by Qin Daoxian's double sword, and it flew out. Qin Daoxian's light flashed and he could clearly see the shocked face of the other party. Die. A mysterious wave erupted on the flying snow sword. This sword, with the spatial sword meaning as bone and the Siyu sword meaning as flesh and blood, suddenly erupted with an attacking power no less than that of a mid-level Jindan cultivator. From a distance, Jiang Chenai saw this sword, and his right hand trembled uncontrollably. How can he be so strong? How can he be so strong? Jiang Chenai murmured. He found that compared with the last time he saw Qin Daoxian in the real fairyland, the current Qin Daoxian is stronger. Back then in the true immortal origin realm, Qin Daoxian didn't use his 6 arms to strike together, and the strongest power erupted from each sword was only equivalent to the level of an ordinary Jindan early-stage cultivator, and would definitely not reach the level of a middle-stage Jindan cultivator. You know, this is the level of strength that Fairy Qiyao only has. That is to say, the current Qin Daoxian's attack power is on a par with the original Fairy Qiyao. Obviously, the realm of Kendo is only the 3rd level, and the lack of ability is comparable to Fairy Qiyao in the 4th level, which shows that the power of the sword art created by Qin Daoxian is particularly suitable for his own Kendo. Generally speaking, Zifu Jianxiu creates his own sword art, and he tailors a set of sword art for his own swordsmanship, in order to exert his own swordsmanship strength as much as possible. For example, Zhou Mubai, before he created his own sword art, his strength was comparable to Henry Zhang. After creating the Qinglian sword art, Zhou Mubai's strength improved by leaps and bounds, directly surpassing Henry Zhang's 1 level, reaching the top 10 of the Zifu Tianjiao list. The same is true for Qin Daoxian. After breaking through the Purple Palace period and reaching the 3rd level of Space Sword Intent, he still dared not say that he would definitely defeat Zhou Mubai. Only after using the Dao deriving function to deduce a sword technique that fits his Space Sword Intent and Siyu Sword Intent, does his strength officially surpass Zhou Mubai and reach a higher level, only 1 line weaker than Fairy Qiyao. But now, as he broke through to the Zifu period for longer and longer, the Zifu level mana has been continuously tempered by the triple Space Sword Will and the Silk Rain Sword, and has gradually tended to the limit state of the Zifu mana. Qin Daoxian's strength skyrocketed again. Because basic Qi refining and body refining cultivation are the foundation of strength. As Qin Daoxian's basic mana increases, his strength will naturally rise. Coupled with the soul-defining light and the 4th order high-grade spirit armor, now he dares to say that his strength has truly reached the top of the Zifu Tianjiao list. Even if Fairy Qiyao has not broken through, her strength should be slightly weaker than him. Of course, once Fairy Qiyao breaks through to the Golden Core stage with the inspiration after breaking through the cultivation base, the Dao realm will definitely go further. Then, the middle and even higher Dao realms of the 4th realm will definitely temper Fairy Qiyao's mana to a terrifying level. Just like Qin Daoxuan's strength skyrocketed after he broke through from the qi refining period to the foundation building period. If he encounters fairy qi yao after breaking through the golden core stage, Qin Daoxian can only be passively beaten by relying on the defensive power of the 4th order high-grade power spirit armor. But obviously, the 7th elder of the Jiang family is far less powerful than fairy qi yao after breaking through to the golden core stage. What? Is this the strength of the Jiang family's golden core in the later stage? After Qin Daoxian shot and intercepted his flying sword with 2 swords, he was completely entangled with Jiang Zui. To Qin Daoxuan's surprise, the 7th elder of the Jiang family was not as powerful as rumored to be. The outside world said that the 7th elder of the Jiang family was only a thin line away from the nascent soul stage, and that he was the top real person of Jindan. Now it seems that it is completely nonsense. If I had to use one word to describe it, it would be in vain. Did you know? I was really stunned by you. The so-called Jiang family's strongest golden pill is this level? Qin Daoxian attacked and verbally harassed. Being pressed by a cultivator of the Purple Mansion, Jiang Zui's ashamed face could ooze blood. He knew that Qin Daoxian was just trying to stimulate him so that he could reveal his flaws and defeat him in one fell swoop. To kill him, Qin Daoxian probably doesn't have the strength, and he has a 4th order high-grade spirit armor by his side. As long as he is not determined to fight with Qin Daoxian to the end, he can retreat at any time if he wants to leave. However, he was a dignified cultivator of the late Jindan stage, and was defeated by a cultivator of the Purple House such as Qin Daoxian and fled and spread it out. Not only did he lose his face, but even the Jiang family would be humiliated. Thinking of this, Jiang Zui was also completely ruthless. He stopped defending and exchanged attack with Qin Daoxian, and Jianjian greeted Qin Daoxuan's weak armor. However, compared to Jiang Zui, Qin Daoxian, who had undergone the training of Taoist priests in white in the Wan Xinghai inheritance trial, is much stronger. He easily avoided the clumsy and unusual attack in his eyes, and slashed at Jiang Zui's spirit armor joint with a few swords, causing the opponent's figure to stagger. No, it can't go on like this. Jiang Zui was completely anxious. I am not good at melee combat, and this kid seems to be particularly good at melee combat. For every sword I attacked him, although the power can reach the late stage of Jindan, most of them are avoided by this kid, or he uses 2 immortal swords to remove the power, which can't threaten him at all. This boy from the Qin family seems to be able to see through my attack. Suddenly, Jiang Zhu thought of the legendary melee skills. Could it be Qin Daoxian? This kid has reached the level of predicting the enemy's opportunities. However, how could this kind of melee skills be mastered by a cultivator of the Zifu period? In today's immortal cultivation world, low-level monks generally don't pay attention to body training, so their melee skills are extremely weak. After the cultivator broke through to the golden core stage, due to the tempering of the golden core thunder tribulation, the body-refining cultivation base can quickly reach the realm of skull-shattering rebirth. When the body training has reached this level, Jindan cultivators will naturally not waste this body training, so they have started to study melee skills. This is why Jiang Zui said that the Jindan cultivator has the confidence to fight in close combat. Because the body of the cultivator of the Zifu period is too weak, he usually never thinks of using melee combat to fight the enemy. But this rule is obviously not suitable for a freak like Qin Daoxian. That's right, in Jiang Zu's eyes, Qin Daoxian is a freak. Obviously only the Zifu cultivation base, but the melee skills are stronger than most Jindan cultivators. It's careless. Jiang Zui was quite annoyed. If he knew that Qin Daoxian was so strong in melee combat, he would not be close to him. But now, being pressed by Qin Daoxian with a hammer, it is too late to say anything. As Jiang Zui's attack rhythm was interrupted by Qin Daoxian, there were more and more sword marks on his spirit armor. Although the defense of the 4th order spirit armor could not be broken for a while, Jiang Zui might not be able to consume Qin Daoxian if it was consumed like this. Qin Daoxian has a 4th grade fortune-telling white lotus by his side, and in terms of consumption, unless the Yuanying Xinjuan comes in person, the mere cultivator of the late Jindan period will really not be able to consume him. No, I have to distance myself from him again and use my best soul attack. Jiang Zui secretly said. He was known as the Jindan cultivator who was closest to the nascent soul from the Jiang family. Naturally, he would not be so weak that he was pressed and beaten by the Zifu cultivator. In fact, Jiang Zui's strength is 90% above the soul attack. But under Qin Daoxuan's melee attack, one after another sword light was like the water of the 9 heavens Xuanhe, and it was endless. Jiang Zui couldn't even use his hands to perform a divine attack. In other words, he is now stuck by Qin Daoxian and can't get rid of it. Unless Jiang Zui was single-minded, and a sword forced Qin Daoxian back slightly. Before Qin Daoxian could bully him again, he opened his mouth and spit out a thunderball shining with lightning. Thunder Tribulation Pearl. Qin Daoxian recognized the origin of the object at a glance. Without saying a word, he quickly staggered his swords and spread his arms to protect his head. Just when he made this move, the terrifying power of thunder in the Thunder Tribulation bead exploded instantly. Boom! A terrifying giant purple thunderball exploded between Qin Daoxian and Jianghu. Immediately afterwards, the two figures were violently pushed away by the huge shock wave at the same time. When Qin Daoxian regained control of his figure, he found that he had been blown away by the lightning ball for dozens of miles. With his escaping speed, he could reach it in just a few breaths, but Jianghu would obviously not give him this chance again. Jianghu was shocked when he saw that Qin Daoxian was forcibly hit by Lei Jieju, but he was unscathed. He nodded. "I said why you are not interested in the third order spirit armor. There are better ones, but unfortunately, the spirit armor can prevent ordinary attacks, but it can't stop the soul attack. Go to hell." Jianghu showed pleasure in his eyes, opened his mouth and spat out a guqin. This guqin is long in the wind and in a blink of an eye, it is in front of Jianghu. Jianghu caressed the surface of the qin with both hands, looked at Qin Daoxian and said, "This qin is called Tianin, and it is not worth your while to die under Tianin." Absolute talent. Even Jianghu had to admit that it was an appalling thing for a mere cultivator of the Purple Mansion to be able to press himself to fight. But after today this matter will no longer be known. At this moment Jianghu even murdered the Jiang family behind him. As the strongest Jindan cultivator in the Jiang family, he is almost the most powerful person except for the three nascent soul true monarchs of the Jiang family. But today, being forced to this point by a cultivator of the Purple House, it can be said to be disgrace to the extreme. If today's incident spreads, Jianghu will completely become a laughingstock among the high-ranking cultivators. This kind of thing he will never allow it to happen. There is no Jindan cultivator who is willing to become the foothold of Zifu Tianjiao's fame. Even if this Zifu cultivator has the strength of number 1 on the Zifu Tianjiao list. After Jianghu, Jiang Chenai was sweating profusely at the moment. He regretted it very much. Why did he come to Zhangzhou with the seventh uncle this time? Although he was the Daozi of the Jiang family, his status in the Jiang family was undoubtedly comparable to that of Jianghu. A world of difference. Jiang Chenai saw the ugliness of the seventh uncle at this time, and it was conceivable that he would inevitably be disgusted by the seventh uncle. If seventh uncle's mind was a little darker. Jiang Chenai simply didn't dare to think further. At this moment he only hoped that the seventh uncle would kill Qin Daoxian, completely let out his vicious anger and no longer come to trouble him. At this moment Jiang Chenai finally realized that, compared with the so-called background and potential, only the strength that is actually mastered is the most stable. There has never been a moment when Jiang Chenai hated himself for being weak so much. Far away. Jianghu glanced at Qin Daoxian and fiddled with the strings lightly. The next moment, an invisible wave hit the soul in Qin Daoxian's Z mansion at a speed comparable to teleportation. Boom! A loud bang resembling a big bell broke out in Qin Daoxian's soul, wanting to tear his soul to pieces. Despite possessing the sea of divine light, Qin Daoxian's soul and consciousness far surpassed that of ordinary Zifu cultivators. But in the face of Jianghu's terrifying soul attack, Qin Daoxian couldn't resist at all. Just when he thought that his soul was about to shatter and die, the golden scriptures in the sea of consciousness shook gently, and the voice of Hongzhong Dalu in the soul disappeared instantly. In the outside world, Qin Daoxian's performance was a little stunned, and then he watched Jianghu play the piano as if nothing had happened. "Are you all right?" Jianghu was a little unbelievable, but he immediately remembered something and said in shock, "The Divine Soul Defense Magic Weapon? You have the Divine Soul Defense Magic Weapon." He looked at Qin Daoxian with complicated eyes, which was comparable to the attacking power of a mid-level Jindan cultivator, a fourth-order high-grade spirit armor, and a spiritual defense weapon. Jianghu discovered that Qin Daoxian was quite powerful even among the Jindan cultivators, not to mention the cultivators of the same rank. More importantly, the opponent restrained him in all directions. Having lost the means to attack by the soul, Jianghu's whole body strength immediately went to 90%. Thinking of this, how could he dare to continue to entangle with Qin Daoxian? 7017K. Chapter 292. The Science Spirit boat escaped extremely fast, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. On the blue spirit boat, Jiang Chenai looked at the gloomy seventh elder and felt a little uneasy in his heart. Today's event. Seventh uncle, we didn't see anything today. That's right, we didn't see anything. The crowd joined together. Jiangzu took a deep breath and sighed, forget it, if you lose, you lose. He knew that even if the Jiang family didn't say it, so many people in the Qin family had witnessed this battle. How could the Qin family miss the opportunity to publicize this kind of thing that greatly increased the Qin family's reputation? It's just a self-deception idea to shut up the Jiang family present. Seeing Jiang Zui's tone, everyone immediately dared not answer. The other side. Qin Fuxing and others felt unreal when they saw Qin Daoxian defeating the most powerful Jindan real person in the Jiang family in a head-to-head battle. The speed at which Qin Daoxian's strength increased was too fast. Qin Fuxing remembered that before entering the true immortal origin realm, the strength shown by the young patriarch to the outside world was only comparable to that of the ordinary Purple Mansion. However, in less than a year, Qin Daoxian was able to defeat a late Jindan cultivator head-on. Qin Fuxing had never even heard of such a terrifying increase in strength, let alone seeing it with his own eyes. It is said that the Hall Master of Jinhai Palace is the most enchanting disciple since Qinyuan Jianzong was founded, but Qin Fuxing felt that it was probably this true monarch nascent soul, and he did not have such an exaggerated speed of progress as his own young patriarch. Daoxian. 100 miles away, Luoli saw that Jiangzu fled as soon as he was defeated, and hurriedly flew towards Qin Daoxian with the escape light. The Qin family's large-scale spirit ship was about 100 miles away from the center of the battle between the two, and the two were also determined to avoid their respective spirit boats, so neither the Jiang family spectators nor the Qin family spectators would be able to do so. How many battles were involved? Otherwise, the aftermath of this level of battle, not to mention the fall of the Zifu cultivator, and the slight injury to the opponent would be no problem. Seeing Dao LV flying towards him, Qin Daoxian stretched out his hand to stop Luo Li's slender waist, feeling the other person's trembling body and said softly, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Luo Li responded, but her delicate body was still trembling and she was afraid. Although she has never seen the horror of Jindan Jinren, there are still records of this aspect in the clan. Normally, it would be quite difficult for a Zifu cultivator not to mention defeating Jindan Jinren, but to save his life in the hands of Jindan Jinren. However, Qin Daoxian not only saved his life in the hands of Jiang Zui, a late Jindan cultivator, but also defeated the opponent in a frontal photo battle. Whether it was Luo Li or Qin Fuxing, he could see that Jiang Zui was not Qin Daoxian's opponent. Continue to consume with the terrifying mana stored by the 4th grade Good Fortune White Lotus, Jiang Zui may really fall into the hands of Qin Daoxian. As the core descendant of the Qin family, Qin Fuxing naturally knew the power of the Qin family's unique magic weapon to create the White Lotus. Seeing Qin Fuxing and others bowing their heads and bowing to the side, Luo Li blushed and broke free from Qin Daoxian's embrace. Fuxing. Young patriarch. Only then did Qin Fuxing raise his head, looking at Qin Daoxian eagerly, the look of reverence in his eyes lingering. After this battle, the prestige of my Qin family will surely resound throughout the entire Wangxinghai, and the cultivator of the Zifu defeated Jiang Zui. This kind of top Jindan real person, the entire Wangxinghai has never had such a record. Seeing that Qin Daoxian was a blockbuster, Qin Fuxing was happier than he had beaten Jiang Zui. But Qin Daoxian shook his head. This matter must be kept secret and there is no need to publicize it. Hearing this, Qin Fuxing was shocked. But, this is a great opportunity for my Qin family's reputation to skyrocket. Qin Daoxian glanced at him and Qin Fuxing hurriedly lowered his head. Follow the decree of the young patriarch. Qin Daoxian didn't want to disclose this battle to the outside world. Naturally, the Qin family was not ready to set foot on the wider stage of Wangxinghai. The current Qin family, even if he is a Zifu cultivator who is comparable to Jindan real person, and more than 400 ordinary Zifu cultivators, can only compete with the stronger Jindan family in terms of strength. It is far from being on a par with the nascent Soul family like Taizhou Jiang family and Jingzhou Ji family. In addition, Qin Daoxian's strength is not as strong as he has shown. He can defeat Jiang Zui, which does not mean that he is really stronger than the top Jindan real person. It's just that Jiang Zui is not good at melee combat but he is good at soul attack. He was just restrained by him, which allowed Qin Daoxian to win in one fell swoop. In exchange for another top-level Jindan real person who is good at melee combat, Qin Daoxian is definitely not an opponent, and it is not bad to be able to rely on the 4th order high-grade spirit armor on his body to save his life. This is also an important reason why Qin Daoxian did not let Qin Fuxing reveal the battle. Qin Daoxian was not as strong as Qin Fuxing had seen. He was able to beat Jianghu more because of a clever trick, not because his real hard power surpassed the opponent. But all this Qin Fuxing didn't know. He only saw Qin Daoxian beat Jianghu and fled. He couldn't even see the details of the fight between the two. After all, whether it is Qin Daoxian or Jianghu, the speed between the two of them is too fast. 3 hours later, a large spirit ship is docked at the port of Guanhai Xianqing. The Qin family jumped out of the spirit ship and flew towards the Qin family's Jianghu Island. When crossing the Guanhai Xianqing from a high altitude, Qin Daoxian's spiritual sense swept across the Xianqing slightly, and he couldn't help but let out a light sigh. "What's up?" Luoli looked at Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian shook his head and smiled. "It's nothing, I found something interesting." Nie Zhong was the first group of loose cultivators in Guanhai Xianqing. He was a member of the monks' army when the Guang'an Prefecture Western Allied Army had not been disbanded. Later, with the destruction of the Corpse Tide, the major clans in Sangzhou would naturally not maintain a huge number of coalition forces. After all, every day the coalition forces existed, the various consumption of military salaries was an astronomical figure. For a long time no one can bear it. As a result, the Sangzhou Allied Army began to disband, and the Guang'an Prefecture West Allied Army was also one of the Sangzhou Allied forces, and was naturally disbanded by the Qin family. As a member of the Western Union Army, Nie Zhong has since retired to become a loose cultivator. To be honest, when he first retired, Nie Zhong was not unhappy at all but very happy. Because compared with other loose cultivators, Nie Zhong is a spiritual planter with considerable planting experience. Although his spiritual planting level was not enough for him to grow precious elixir, it was not difficult for Nie Zhong to grow first-order spiritual corn. In addition, the Lingdao near Guanhai Xianqing is absorbing Lingji husband. Nie Zhong also pushed the boat and stayed in Guanhai Xianqing. Less than a year. Nie Zhong achieved a surplus of spirit stone coins by relying on his own spirit planting technology. In 1 year, Nie Zhong made a profit of 297 spirit stones from the 100 acres of spirit fields he was in charge of. This level of income is already quite high. You must know that the average member of the Zhou family patrol team only has 500 spiritual stones a year. And the income of the members of the Zhou family patrol team is definitely a high income among the cultivators of the same rank in the Zhou family. This shows how exaggerated Nie Zhong's income is. After cultivating the spiritual field for several years, Nie Zhong, with the help of a large number of spiritual stones, made rapid progress in his cultivation and quickly reached the 9th level of qi refining. The cultivation base has reached the 9th level of qi refining, and the next thing to consider is naturally the matter of foundation building. Once you become a foundation establishment cultivator, in addition to being able to improve your status in the immortal cultivation world, more importantly, a foundation establishment cultivator has 200 years of lifespan. Longevity and long-term vision are the biggest motivation for monks to practice. Foundation building is naturally a gratifying thing, but for loose cultivators, foundation building is not that simple. This kind of foundation pill, from refining its elixir, to refining techniques, to qualified alchemists, under the restrictions of layers and layers of thresholds, it is destined that loose cultivators can only obtain this kind of spirit through purchase. Then, if you want to refine it yourself, it is too difficult for a loose cultivator. Of course, such a thing as a foundation pill, a new big family like the Qin family, is naturally capable of refining. In fact, today's Qin family can not only refine second-order spiritual pills such as the foundation pill, they can even do large-scale refining. In Sangzhou, more than 80% of the market for foundation pills was eaten by the Qin family, almost monopolizing the market for foundation pills. The Qin family's monopoly on the Sangzhou elixir market is not only reflected in the foundation pill, but most of the first and second-order elixir are now monopolized by the Qin family. Only the third-order and higher elixir, the Qin family did not get involved much. However, although the price of third-order elixir is high in terms of market size, it is not necessarily comparable to first and second-order elixir. Because the users of the first-order and second-order spiritual pills are the cultivators in the qi refining period and the foundation building period. The monks of these two types of cultivation make up the largest proportion of the monk group, exceeding 99% or more. In this way, the market size of first-order elixir and second-order elixir is naturally not inferior to that of high-order elixir. Although the Qin family set foot in the foundation building dan market, the price of Sangzhou foundation building dan has dropped by more than half, from about 50,000 spirit stones in the past to the current 20,000 spirit stones. But for a loose cultivator like Nie Zhong, 20,000 spirit stones were still an unattainable price. According to Nie Zhong, earning 300 spirit stones every year, even if he saves all the spirit stones without spending a penny, it will take 6 years to save this huge sum of money. But Nie Zhong has been cultivating for nearly 40 years. If he can't live up to the foundation establishment pill within 20 years, it means that he will not be able to do foundation establishment in this life. For more than 60 years, Nie Zhong could not afford to wait. A skilled cultivator like Nie Zhong couldn't afford the foundation establishment Dan, let alone an ordinary cultivator. Facing the sky-high price of foundation establishment Dan, they could only be more desperate. In the past few days there have been several places similar to small schools in Guanghai Xianqing, which are recruiting students. Learning small things is not unfamiliar to loose cultivators, because they studied in places like Clan Small when they were mortals. But for the schools run by the cultivators, these loose cultivators have never seen them before, especially since the conditions given by the other party are so superior. Excuse me, senior, what do you mean by graduation package distribution? Nie Zhongman looked at the foundation building cultivator who was about 20 years old in front of him with doubts. If it wasn't for Nie Zhong who recognized this person as the cultivator of the Chen family through his uniform, he would never have believed his nonsense. What did the other party just say? After systematic study, the monthly salary of the students after graduation can reach at least 100 spirit stones? It can even help students with interest-free loans to buy foundation building Dan. Especially the second one, Nie Zhong felt that the other party was crazy. Although Changping Central Bank launched the loan business in Guanhai Xianqing, Nie Zhong knew very well that the loan department of Changping Bank was not a charitable institution. When they lend money to the outside world, they are completely inferior to others. They must ensure that the loose cultivator has sufficient collateral and the ability to repay before lending to you. Nie Zhong has a relatively stable income due to his excellent planting techniques for spiritual plants. He was once fortunate to have a loan from the Changping Central Bank. But the loan amount was only 200 spirit stones, which was the startup capital for him to rent spirit fields and buy spirit seeds. Of course, he paid off the loan in less than a year. Since then, Nie Zhong has never borrowed from the Changping Central Bank again. Because he didn't need a small loan. As for the purchase of a foundation pill, Nie Zhong didn't have the qualifications at all. 20,000 spirit stones selling Nie Zhong is not worth the price. Chen Fuzhou looked at the 9th-level chi refining loose cultivator in front of him, and explained with a smile. Dao Yunye, the so-called graduation package distribution means that after you study in our school for 1 year, you can get a monthly income of no less than the work of 100 spirit stones. 1 year. Nie Zhong couldn't believe it, the study time was too short. Moreover, in the world of immortality, any valuable knowledge is firmly controlled by the sect and family forces, and I have never heard of a family willing to take the initiative to leak it. Qin family, is this crazy? Yes, 1 year. Chen Fuzhou nodded. Of course, if you study fast, you may be able to graduate and be competent for this job in a few months. Gudong. Nie Zhong swallowed hard, and in a few months he could get a job with an income that was several times higher than that of the previous one, and more importantly, he could also get an interest-free loan to buy a foundation pill. After Nie Zhong asked all this, his head was maddening. I am willing to sign up. Seeing this, Chen Fuzhou smiled and nodded. Okay. In the past 2 days, too many loose cultivators like Nie Zhong have come to the admissions office here in Chen Fuzhou. Compared to Nie Zhong, who was a little hesitant because of his skill, the other loose cultivators went crazy after hearing that they were earning more than 1,000 spirit stones every year. After all, the person who said this was not an ordinary loose cultivator, but a cultivator of the Qin family. And Guanhai Xianqing, including the major spiritual islands within a radius of 10,000 miles, are all Qin family's properties. It is absolutely impossible for such a big family to deceive them, a loose cultivator who has nothing. After all, what is there to deceive a penniless loose cultivator? After I figured this out, coupled with the good reputation that the Qin family has always built up, the admissions and registration offices of various schools are extremely hot, and there is an endless stream of loose cultivators. With this trend set off, gradually the Lingde city, which is the closest to Guanhai Xianqing, began to hear the news. Have you heard? Guanhai Xianqing is actually recruiting loose cultivators, and the income exceeds 1,000 spirit stones a year. 8,000 spirit stones, is it true or false? Yeah, Brother Wang, these big families eat people and don't spit out their bones. Would the Qin family be so kind? I don't know about it, but if you go and see, you won't suffer. Brother Wang is right. It's true or false? Let's go and see. He'll go as well. 7017K. Chapter 293, Twin Lakes Island. Council Hall. Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Daolian and said with his hands behind his back, "You have already started recruiting scattered cultivators in Guanhai Xianqing?" Young Patriarch, yes. Qin Daoxian nodded. If you want to successfully implement the Industrial Fairy City plan, remember to protect the interests of loose cultivators, and you must not lose everything for a small profit. Hearing this, Qin Daolian hurriedly assured, "Young Patriarch, keep this in mind." After the exhortation, Qin Daoxian said again, "How is the recruitment of loose cultivators now?" When it comes to the recruitment of loose cultivators, Qin Daolian suddenly became excited. "Young Patriarch, the progress of recruiting loose cultivators in major schools this time has been unprecedentedly smooth. Due to the good reputation that my Qin family has established in Guanhai Xianqing since the issuance of Lingshi coins, all the scattered cultivators believe in the high salary offered by my Qin family and are willing to study in the school established by my Qin family. We estimate that it will take about a year to train the first batch of loose cultivators into qualified special refiners and alchemists. That is to say, in 1 year, our Guanhai Xianqing will have more than 200,000 alchemists and alchemists. With these alchemists and alchemists, we can completely turn the entire Guanhai Xianqing into an industrial fairy city." Speaking of this, Qin Daolian's expression was extremely excited. In the Qin family Jianghu Island Industrial Zone, there are only 3 factories for magic weapons and 2 factories for medicinal herbs. The total number of alchemists and alchemists in the factories is only more than 8,000. After all, there are only about 1,600 people in each factory on average. Once the 200,000 alchemists and alchemists in Guanhai Xianqing are trained, at least 125 factories of the same scale will be built. By then, the output of the medicinal pills and instruments produced by the Qin family will be more than 26 times that of the present. This is only the first batch of students to be trained. As the Qin family pays the salaries of these students truthfully, there will be more and more students in the future. Because the benefits given by the Qin family are too great, the cultivators are all profit-seeking people, and the benefits will tell them how to choose. Lingrui City and Guang'an Palace Xianqing used higher returns to attract the loose cultivators from Guanhai Xianqing, and Guanhai Xianqing could also attract these loose cultivators by the same means. The major families in Sangzhou are united on the surface, but the competition behind the scenes has never stopped. This was the case with Lingrui City and Guang'an Mansion Xianqing back then, and now Guanhai Xianqing and the Xianqing of other families are the same. Seeing Qin Daolian's confident look, Qin Daoxian said, "I'm not worried about whether you can make Guanhai Xianqing an industrial city, but have you ever thought that after Guanhai Xianqing is turned into an industrial city, our Qin family will where should I sell the magic weapon elixir produced? It is the same problem encountered in the industrialization process of the previous life. While industrialization brings about a big explosion of productivity, it will face the problem of insufficient sales market. Although there are no specific statistics, the total number of scattered repairs in Guang'an Prefecture is only a few million, and at most no more than 5 million. Even if there are 5 million monks in Guang'an, there are 13 palaces in Sangzhou. According to a rough estimate, the population of monks is about 65 million, and at most no more than 100 million. There are so many scattered cultivators, mostly in the low-level qi refining stage and foundation building stage, and there are very few cultivators in the Zifu. Don't think that 100 qi refining cultivators can give birth to a foundation building cultivator, and that 65 million cultivators in Sangzhou can give birth to thousands of Zifu cultivators. In fact, before the trip to the true immortal origin realm, there were at most hundreds of cultivators in the Zifu in Sangzhou. The reason why the number of high-level cultivators is so small, in addition to the external factor of Sangzhou's many disasters, there is another reason is that Sangzhou's resources are not as many as Taizhou and Jingzhou. In terms of area, Taizhou has the largest area, more than 3 times larger than Sangzhou, and even Jingzhou is more than twice the size of Sangzhou. The land area is small, the various resources are usually small, and the number of high-level monks that can be born fundamentally is also small. This is also the biggest reason why nascent Soul True Monarch was not born even in the heyday of Sangzhou. Of course, with Sangzhou's resources, if he hadn't experienced the chaos of Divine Ju that year, 1 or 2 Yuan Ing True Monarchs should have been born. This is also one of the reasons why the Jiang family wants to plan Sangzhou. Cangzhou's strength is weak, and although the resources are not comparable to Taizhou, it can also make the Jiang family's strength skyrocket. More importantly, once Cangzhou is eaten, it will be easier to eat Yuanqin, Xianqing and Jingzhou in the future after the Jiang family grows stronger. The Jiang family could already sense that there was an earth-shattering undercurrent brewing under the calm surface of Wanxinghai. As long as this undercurrent erupts, the world will be turned upside down in an instant. As for the fuse of this undercurrent outbreak, the Jiang family is definitely not willing to act as it, but the Jiang family knows what the fuse is, that is, the Qingwei Taoist sect is about to give birth to a Yuanqin Taoist. Obviously, this is a terrorist strategic force that is enough to change the balance of strength between Qinyuan Jianzong and Shenqing Dao League. Once the Qingwei Taoist sect has a Yuanqin Daojun, the Jiang family, including all the Yuanying families in Wanxinghai, must make a choice that concerns the rise and fall of the family. Whether to die with Qinyuan Jianzong, or to fly with the new master of Shenqing Daoming. This choice is not difficult, the Jiang family has obviously made a choice. And these are still too far from the current Qin family. Qin Daoxian doesn't even know, this is not a secret at all between the Yuanying family. In other words, the current Qin family is not even qualified to be drawn by the Shenqing Dao League. A family that does not even have Jindan cultivators, no matter how good Qin Daoxuan's personal talent is, it will not be really taken seriously by the major forces. If you want to be squarely faced by forces like Qinyuan Jianzong and Shenqing Dao League, it is the most basic thing to have a Yuanying Xinjuan in the family. Other geniuses and evildoers will not be squarely faced by forces at the level of Qinyuan Jianzong and Shenqing Dao League, because the so-called genius monster can only prove that the cultivator has potential. Whether it is Qinyuan Jianzong or Shenqing Dao League, there is no shortage of potential disciples. Why should they care about you, an outside genius? And you are a genius now, can you be sure that in the future you will not encounter any obstacles in the way of comprehension? Can you be sure to survive all the calamities on the way to Jindan and even nascent soul? Both are not. Therefore, a small family like the Zhou family in Guang'an might invest in so-called genius swordsmen. But for forces like Qinyuan Jianzong and Shenqing Dao League, they only look at strength. If Qin Daoxian now has the strength comparable to that of the Jinhai Palace Hall Master, he will definitely be attracted by the Qinyuan Sword Sect. What Elder Keqing, the title of honorary elder, smashed Qin Daoxian on the head. The method of refining high-level spirit armor, the refining materials for high-level spirit armor, and all kinds of benefits that cannot be sought now will be automatically delivered to the Qin family. For the current Qin family, they are still unable to intervene in matters at the level of Yuanying Xinjuan. But the industrial fairy city, they have enough ability to build success. The point is that the benefits of building an industrial fairy city are no less than the benefits occupied by a nascent soul family. Hearing Qin Daoxian talking about the problem of the sales market, Qin Daolian immediately frowned. The sales market. This is the problem. She thought for a while. Almost all of Cangzhou's medicinal pills and magical instruments market are monopolized by the major families in Cangzhou. Although we can take advantage of the price advantage to occupy all the markets, this will undoubtedly bring all Cangzhou families to the market. All pushed to the enemy's side. With that said, Qin Daolian looked at Qin Daoxian cautiously. Although with the current strength of my Qin family, I am not afraid even if I am an enemy of the entire Cangzhou Xiuxian family, but the recovery of Jinan Pass is imminent, and it is unwise to have internal strife at this time. Qin Daoxian shook his head. Hearing this, Qin Daolian bit her lower lip lightly, also a little distressed. Qin Daoxian couldn't help but think that in the history of the previous life, those countries that took the lead in realizing industrialization used the method of developing colonies to consume the huge production capacity brought by industrialization. But for the current Qin family, where to develop the colony? Wanxinghai? Qin Daoxian shook his head. Wanxinghai was under the rule of Qinyuan Jianzong, and there were many immortal clans in Hezhou. If the Qin family wanted to intervene, it was undoubtedly an enemy of the major families. Although the Qin family can use the method of developing agents to dump the medicinal herbs and instruments at low prices to the cultivators in various states, and then find them to buy the raw materials for refining pills and instruments. In this way, the states can be developed into their own product dumping grounds without a fight, in the way of boiling frogs in warm water. But this is very difficult. Because the immortal cultivators in various states are not fools, they can definitely see how terrifying it is to hand over the production rights of magical instruments and medicinal pills to outsiders. Although these families can obtain greater benefits from it in a short period of time, once the Qin family cuts off their supply of medicinal herbs, it will cause heavy damage to these families. You must know that medicinal pills and magic tools are not only used for cultivation in ordinary times. Once the war comes, the demand for medicinal pills and magic tools for monks will skyrocket. The two sides are fighting, one side has a sufficient supply of medicinal pills, and the other has no medicinal pills. As long as the difference in strength between the two sides is not too great, the one with sufficient supply of medicinal pills will be crushing the other. Therefore, the immortal cultivators in various states will definitely not allow the Qin family to arbitrarily invade their market for medicinal pills. Qin Daolian watched Qin Daoxuan's brows furrowed, and stood there for a while, daring not to say anything to disturb him. It is obviously impossible for Wan Xinghai to be the dumping ground for the Qin family's products. So, what about places beyond the Wangxinghai? For example, Xianyun Prefecture or even the real demon world. Qin Daoxian suddenly remembered that the two spirit pets, Qi Tong and Qi Ling, who had been sent to Qingqiu Yaogua as undercover agents, became active for a while. Seeing Qin Daoxuan's happy brows, Qin Daolian knew that the young patriarch must have an idea in his mind, and could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. For the sales market of the magic weapon pills, we can temporarily cooperate with Yuanqin Xianqing. He paused. Yuanqin Xianqing has a population of tens of millions of scattered cultivators, and there is a great demand for magic tools and medicinal herbs, and although Yuanqin Xianqing does not have much land, the scattered cultivators in this immortal city come from the Wangxinghai states. Loose cultivation itself can bring the resources of the Wangxinghai states. I think to cooperate with Yuanqin Jinjuan and make Yuanqin Xianqing a sales window for our Qin family, Yuanqin Jinjuan will definitely agree. Hearing these words, Qin Daolian couldn't help swallowing. Does the Qin family have the strength to cooperate with the Yuanying Jinjuan? With the productivity of the Qin family's industrial fairy city in the future, it has this qualification, but the Qin family itself is only a Zifu family, and there is not even a Jindan real person in the family. How can such a family make a Yuanying real monarch face it? Cooperation is built on the basis of equal strength, otherwise it will not be cooperation, but one party will become a vassal of the other party. Obviously, Qin Daoxian also understood this truth. He smiled. Of course, the cooperation with Yuanqin Xianqing will have to wait until I break through the golden core stage. Hearing this, Qin Daolian was shocked. She didn't expect that Qin Daoxian would consider breaking through the golden core stage before it had been a year since he broke through the purple palace stage. But if you think about it carefully, not only Qin Daoxian, but also the group of Zhengxian Yuanji saved hundreds of years of hard work by many monks in the 3 states. Qin Daoxian is now on the 9th floor of the purple mansion, and it doesn't seem like a big deal for him to consider breaking through the golden core stage. The 9th floor of the purple mansion. Every time Qin Daolian thinks of the cultivation of the young patriarch, he has the illusion that he is in a dream. She knew better that the most terrifying thing about Qin Daoxian was not the cultivation of the 9th floor of the purple mansion. There is nothing to be proud of. What shocked Qin Daolian the most was Qin Daoxuan's Dao state. According to rumors from the outside world, Qin Daoxian has reached the 3rd level of Kendo, the realm of sword, meaning transforming into a star. And he has walked a considerable distance from the star transformation realm, and has reached the middle of the star transformation realm. From the perspective of matching the cultivation base with the realm of the avenue, the cultivation base of the 9th floor of Zifu should correspond to the realm of the avenue in the high section of the star transformation realm. Qin Daoxuan's Dao realm is still slightly behind his own cultivation. But there is no way the true immortal origin realm and his party, his cultivation base has improved too fast, like sitting on a rocket, directly from the late stage of foundation establishment to the late stage of Zifu. Even if he had the assistance of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, he could not make the Dao realm catch up with his cultivation. With Qin Daoxuan's character, since he said that he wants to break through the golden core stage, he must be confident that he can raise the realm of the great Dao to the same level as the cultivation base in a short period of time, or even exceed the level of the cultivation base. Qin Daolian didn't know that the confidence of their young patriarch came not only from the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, but also from the mysterious inheritance at the bottom of the Wangxinghai Sea. That's right, after so many twists and turns, Qin Daoxian finally had time to accept Wangxinghai's inheritance. Go to Wangxinghai to retreat? When Qin Daoxian said that he was going to retreat under the sea in Wangxinghai, Qin Daolian gave him a strange look. Breaking through the golden elixir is no trivial matter, of course you have to retreat. Qin Daoxian took it for granted. Then, is Sister Luoli going? Hearing this, he finally understood why Qin Daolian's eyes were a little strange just now. Thinking of this, he tapped Qin Daolian's little head lightly and scared her. It seems that you are quite concerned about the Tao companion. In that case, how about I find a good husband for you? Hearing this, Qin Daolian's face changed greatly, and she quickly grabbed Qin Daoxuan's arm and shook her coquettishly and said, Young patriarch, Daolian knows it's wrong, I want dare again next time. No next time. Qin Daolian reacted immediately, shaking her head like a rattle. Seeing her fear of marriage, Qin Daoxian couldn't help but smile. Said to marry Qin Daolian, of course, to scare her. With Qin Daoxuan's training of her, even if Qin Daolian and the male cultivator are both Taoist companions in the future, they can only recruit Su. It is impossible to marry Qin Daolian. This is not only Qin Daoxuan's emotional reluctance, but also real harm to interests. Qin Daolian knows too much about the secrets of the Qin family. Qin Daoxian was almost cultivating her as the next head of the Qin family. How could it be possible to marry her? Qin Daolian looked at Qin Daoxian carefully, and when she saw the anger on his face dissipated, she could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. In fact, she didn't know why she would suddenly make a joke like Qin Daoxian, but every time she thought that Luoli had become a Taoist partner with the young patriarch, Qin Daolian always felt inexplicable pain in her heart. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.